Hello and welcome to the Unofficial Controller Podcast, your weekly gaming podcast, episode 189, an interview with Darren Browne, Numskull's product marketing manager. With me, George, and this week joined by RGT and obviously Darren. They are highly sought after gaming collectibles to my disposable tap free with a gaming magazine. Gentlemen, how's it going?
Very well, thanks. Thanks for that.
Yeah, intro. Very good. Thank you, George.
Good. Okay. Well, obviously, Darren, we're going to get into... Not into you. Well, we're going to get into you
steady.
a little bit later into the show. But
wine and dine me first. Come on.
Yeah, obviously, through the medium of what you've been playing in the news, we hope to flip you over and give you the full wine and dine experience. Prior to that, obviously, just introduce you to the good people of the UCP community. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm very well. Life is good. Can't complain. Plenty of work to do at work, so all fun.
I imagine you sat on a throne, almost Game of Thrones style, of gaming merchandise. That's how I want to imagine you.
I am surrounded by it. That's what, yeah. In fairness, like, yeah. You're never short of anything. Literally, as I sit with my monitor to me, on the left-hand side sits a Sonic the Hedgehog Power Idols, which is a wireless power charger. Underneath my monitor is, I don't know if you've seen Tubbz, the cosplaying ducks.
Oh, yes, I've seen Tubbz, all right.
Yeah. So I've got Shadow the Hedgehog, which was a gift, and then Ryu from Shenmue.
Oh, wow. Nice.
I imagine as well that you're probably recording this from Hollywood for the amount of money I've calculated I've probably given Numskulls over the last however many years.
A little bit more modest than that. Okay. It's in my games room.
Just in your Monaco flat.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. Well, all fun and frolics aside, obviously we've got a little bit of a format to follow. So let me ask you, gentlemen, what have you been playing this gaming week? And sorry, but guess first, RGT. I know you're a gaming mega celebrity these days, but
don't know about that.
Darren is the guest. Darren, what have you been playing this gaming week?
So at the moment, I've bought a house, and so outside of work, I'm pretty busy doing stuff for that, but I have managed to get onto Formula Retro Racing. I don't know if you've seen that by Numskull Games.
Oh, tell me about this.
So that's
very on point, Darren, by the way.
I know. It's like, yeah,
you're good at your job, Darren.
My company. But yeah, basically it's a polygon-based game. So it's like virtual racing in that style. But it's very arcadey. So first time I tried it out, didn't know what to expect. I don't know if you've played, what's the game called? Horizon Chase Turbo.
Mm-hmm. One of my very favourites.
Yeah, same here. I actually bought the Senna DLC when that came out. Cause it's just
me too. That's really rewarding, by the way.
Yeah. But yeah, that one is one of my favourites, again with the Barry Leach soundtrack as well, which obviously made it even better than what it was for me, because it was just a complete throwback. But it's in that style. So it's in that style. The only thing I had with Horizon Chase that used to annoy me was like the computer AI gets really dirty and you always seem to lose out.
Mm-hmm.
This on...
Because you get nerfed if you get nudged in that game, don't you? Big time.
Yeah. And gamer rage sets in. You know? It's just one of them. Especially when you're short of time, you're like, I was so close to getting that. And then it's like, and you don't just lose one place, do you? You just basically end up sixth after leading.
Well, the annoying thing is that they block in Chase quite a lot.
Yeah.
And there's not really much you can do if you're in a tight moment to really not nosedive up the back of them, which completely nerfs you, but then gives them almost like a turbo boost. So you've got probably another lap or half a lap minimum to get back where you were. And if it's in the closing stages of the race, it's not a very nice experience.
Yeah, it always seemed like you were only 20% going to get the advantage of it. Any definitely. Collision. Like it's so stacked in their favour. But yeah, this is the other way around. So the first thing I did when I ended up colliding with someone was like, oh, you actually smashed the opponent off the track. So I was like, which is to me when I'm like, I ain't lost out. That made it a little bit better. You mount up some damage. So bottom right is damage, and obviously depending on the difficulty level, depends on how badly that inflicts. But you can make it round, so you can actually like get nudged yourself, and they still come off worse. So for me, that was a bit more arcadey.
That's a bit like a hail, as you say, a hail back to racing games from back in the day, where you just went through like a burning spear.
Yeah. But yeah, I've only just touched. Where am I now? I'm about 10 or 12 tracks in on beginner level. There's so many options, so many cars. Because one of the things I went on was I've been racing in the Formula One car, which pretty much sticks to the track.
Yeah.
But there's a stock car which you need to learn to drift it.
Interesting.
So, yeah, when you've been sticking to the track and then suddenly you change over to that, it's a completely different battle. So yeah, that's, as I say, haven't had loads of time on it, but that's the one. And then I also went on Mega R-Type. I don't know if you've seen that also. Some clever guys basically made R-Type for the Mega Drive. And it's in beta form. So basically, he put a demo up. And I've been playing the demo a little bit just because, even though I'm not great at it, I still enjoy R-Type.
R-Type's always been like I think I had it in a power pack for the Atari ST back in the day, and it was my first sort of dalliance with it. And I wanted to love it, but I'm not very good at the shooters, really. I'm not very good.
Same. If I go on the arcade, the times I've put money in the arcade, and then I've realised why I don't put money in it. You're like, I could get way more value for money out of Pac-Land or something else. It's like,
yeah.
Just
bigger boys like RGT though go in there with 20p in the back pocket and then spend the whole day in the arcade on R-Type. Don't make out like you don't.
Hey, I've got my little bar top, which my Mrs. RGT, my lovely wife, had made for me with the R-Type marquee on, so I use that because that saves a lot of money because you ain't got to put 20p's in every time you lose on the first level.
When can she be my wife? We like to share things on the show.
You ask me this every week.
Well, where's my arcade?
Well, we'll see. We'll sort something out.
Okay.
Keep being nice and we'll get some for the rage.
If she makes something, I want her to make it out of wood herself.
All right, you might be pushing it a bit now, but that might not look like mine, but we'll see.
Darren, on the subject of your new house, congratulations, by the way. Have you played House Flipper? Was that the inspiration for this upgrade, or is this just
explain House Flipper?
Wow. Okay. Well, your real house is about to have the brakes put on its renovations and changes because there's a game called House Flipper where you basically purchase houses. It feels a little bit like the graphical style of Farming Simulator, and you go in and you basically do up walls, clean the place up, paint it, and then you flip it on the market.
Okay, yep.
So you've been doing that in real life, which is a dirty word for a gamer. I was trying to give you some way of kind of tying it back so you didn't feel like you were being left out. So that's your gaming catalogue complete, Darren?
Yeah, it's for the time being until I move. That'll be it, really.
Okay, right. Well, let's find out what RGT's been playing this week.
Well, it's actually over 2 weeks because we had the pre-show, didn't we, with OG Tom last week? So it's over the sort of the span of the 2 weeks. We, as you know, we completed the GTA 3 on the live stream. So we have started. We're now on our second or third episode of Vice City.
Yeah.
Me and Bald Border. Although I was a bit of a naughty boy, apparently. And I got hit with a double copyright strike on YouTube. For two songs that were on the radio. The others were fine, but a certain company pulled up 2 songs, and I am now not shown in a certain country around the world, which I will not mention.
Why not?
Because that must be the origin. Why that country, I don't know. I did try and protest and say, well, Rockstar have paid the license for the music, so I would imagine it was okay, but apparently it's because you're then rebroadcasting the music.
You are rebroadcast.
Yeah, so we're now actually playing with the radio off just to
Has Bald Border been humming or playing the comb or the spoons, that traditional Suffolk instrument?
He hasn't yet, but that is a good idea. So I will have him on maybe I'll get him training on the ukulele this week. Maybe he can knock out a few tunes while we're playing.
Yeah,
because
I think
Vice City is very empty without the radio.
Do you know what would add actual quality to that and actually probably set it amongst the stars?
What's that?
If he sort of recreated the songs, he sang them, he played on a little Casio next to you. He almost serenade. I don't know if he can play piano. I'm hoping at the moment he can't, because that would make it even better. He plays on a little Casio, Billie Jean, and he sings it to you while you drive.
Yeah, but I think we'll probably get done for copyright again, because I don't think you can even sing them, can you? I don't think.
I think it would be quite hard for them to get the algorithm to pull out that. Billie Jean by Michael Jackson.
You don't know how good Ball Border is at singing. I mean, when he starts busting a moonwalk across the games room,
I've assumed his musical technical prowess. We know that's frowned upon, so I do apologise.
So I think, like I say, we're on the second or third episode. So loving that. People seem to really be enjoying the GTA games. It seems to hold a lot of nostalgia of everyone, I think. And then we done a Halloween stream of the Quarry.
Yeah.
Which we will continue. That was a Saturday night stream, so we could have a couple of...
What, next Halloween or...
No, we'll carry on another Saturday night. We'll do like one Saturday a month, I expect, and get that played. But I actually really enjoyed it. I've always been a bit nervous about playing it, because I think it got panned a bit when it first came out. I think a few glitches and acting styles, bits and pieces. But there was a massive update when I installed it and we played it. Really enjoyed it. Graphics are good. It's very, it's obviously from Supermassive, so is that Until Dawn vibe about the game.
That's what appealed to me the most about it.
Yeah, and to me, I mean, I've sort of dabbled with the what were the other ones? The Dark Pictures anthology. I must play through those. But this seems like the true successor to Until Dawn for me. Feels good. Really enjoyed that. Actually, more than what I was expecting to. But that's another one we'll carry on once a month. And then I done my own single live stream actually on let's say Valentine's Day, Halloween. Which was Ghostbusters, the remake of Ghostbusters, or the remaster of Ghostbusters.
I've not actually played the remaster. How does it hold up?
Good. It's like a sort of high-res PS3 game, but runs really well. Great fun. Tough, because I never played it originally, so it was all a bit surprised to me. So I did find it tough, but good. Really good. That's that linear sort of just follow the game through sort of style. But great. Yeah, loved it. I was having such a great time playing that.
What about the ghost, the fire station or the ghost house when you go back? And obviously, have you been back there yet where you can see the picture of Vigo and stuff like that? Yeah,
it's good. There's some good, nice touches, nice Easter eggs in there as well to look for. Everything seems on point with the movies. Great fun. Really enjoyed that. Boss battles were good. You had to learn that pattern of what to do. But there's also that skill side to getting the ghosts in the traps. Great fun. That was great to stream that. So I'll try and do a stream of that again as well.
My only gripe with the game, and I've talked about it on the show in the past, is that it was absolutely fine right up until the last, or maybe the penultimate level. And I don't know whether it was the graphics or what, but it was just tough. And it was only, I think, on my millionth try by luck that I got through to the next stage.
Was that the PS3 version you played? Was
it?
Yeah. I mean,
is that the bit where it's hovering? Sorry, where you're in that pot, where you're in the other world, and there's like doors and walls to hide behind. And stuff
there's
like
a section, I think, where you end up going to a graveyard, and there's a section where you need to kind of wrangle a statue. And it was I tried for the life of me, and I couldn't see it, and I can't remember the finer details of it now, Darren, but I was thinking, I can't believe I've got this far, and I'm going to have to call it quits here, because I was losing myself.
Because I had it on Xbox 360.
Yeah.
And I remember something similar where I was just like, this isn't fun anymore.
No.
Up until that point it was, but it felt
it was a rip-roaring experience, wasn't it? And then I just, as you must have done, hit this brick wall and thought, oh, I'm done. And like I say, it was just almost a glitch that got it cleared in the end. And I was just so grateful. I fell to my knees and prayed to the gaming gods for their release. It was because when I finished it out, I actually thought, do you know what? I'm proud of that. That was a really great
tough
experience.
Game. It feels a tough game through playing through it. It's definitely that learn the patterns and keep trying till there's no shame in dying on that game, and keep retrying till you get through the level. But also, some more Spider-Man 2. Obviously, I think I'm I was surprised as well. A few of the guys on the Discord had like platinumed this in 25, 30 hours. And I'm
in my murky past, on my experience of it so far, I think in my, when I got Horizon on a Friday night and then basically just mainline.
What you
I didn't just mainline it, did I? I went everywhere, did everything.
Gave up on sleep for a few days.
Yeah, and I think I'd almost got that done by the Wednesday. And I loved it. And I thought to myself, I could have done that with this, and it probably would have been done by Sunday evening.
Well, I'm 30 hours in. I'm 50% through the game in total. I don't know how far I'm in the missions because I've been trying to, clear districts and do trophies.
I've been gently creeping forward
but
enough to activate the next collectible.
Yeah, similar to what
then
I've been doing.
Going back and doing all of that, then going forward and inching forward again.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing. So, but I'm 30 hours in, and like I say, I don't think I'm nowhere near finishing it. So I think that'll be a good 40 hours for me on that. But still loving that game. Haven't found an issue at all. Absolutely love it. I think it's a great second part to that Spider-Man story, or third part if you include Miles Morales. Looks great, plays great, just enough difference to make it worthwhile playing. So you've got you've got more skills, you've got more story.
I've kind of found the scripting to be a very different tact to what was experienced before in Miles and Spider-Man. It is the same, but it just feels a little bit different. I don't know what I can't put my finger on what that is. When
I think it's because maybe you've got Miles and Peter, so you're jumping between the two, so you're not having that long period with one. Whereas in Spider-Man, you felt really attached to Peter as in you did with Miles and Miles Morales. But as you're splitting them, I suppose that's going to take longer to get through the story to feel attached to that one person more, I suppose. That's sort of what I've noticed in the story. But that's not a bad thing. That's just because you've got more characters. But then I've also been playing a game called Master Detective Archives Rain Code on the Switch.
He sent this to me and I had a look, and unlike that Cyberpunk game, it didn't quite grab me as quickly as I expected. And I'll be honest with you, this is, as soon as it loaded up, what I thought I was going to witness here is a point-and-click adventure game with a detective set in the 1920s. When the video loaded and it was basically an anime wet dream, I thought, what's happened to RGT?
Well, I'll get to this. Now, I saw this on a few YouTube channels being reviewed, switched up, and there was another Switch channel as well. I can't remember the name, and I thought, it's not normally my sort of game, but I thought I quite like the idea of, I like my detective stuff. So I purchased it when me and you were at Format in Manchester. Started playing the game, started playing the game, and I thought, I quite enjoy this. Detective.
So we got back home from Fortnite. I drunkenly from.
Format. Fortnite.
Audience slip my favourite game. I don't know what's going on there. We get back from Format. I drunkenly munch through goodness knows what sandwich it was that I bought. In fact, I ate half my girlfriend's before realising I'd picked up the wrong box. They all tasted the same to me, to be fair. They tasted of beer. And then I probably fell asleep watching Quest. Probably Salvage Hunters, or How Do They Do That, or something. That's my go-to place. But it transpires you sat bolt upright like an electrified Dracula, and then sat downloading, researching, downloading, and playing games. What had you been on? Zero alcohol lager, or what's going on here?
No, just being professional. No. So anyway, back to the game. It starts off with it will highlight areas to discover and find, and I got all through this, and I thought, this is really good. I'm really enjoying this.
This is Friday night or Thursday night,
and and the night after when I got back. So and then you discover that
there's a question on all the listeners' lips as well.
What's that?
Were you driven to Format and sat in the back playing Switch?
How dare you?
What do you mean, how dare I? You're the man.
I was sitting in the front.
You are I was going to say, for anyone who doesn't know, a very small baby in the background, your beautiful daughter in the back of the car, you next to her, ignoring her, with a PlayStation 2 and a screen running off the car battery.
My small baby daughter.
While you're driven to your holiday destination, while your wife is passing back to you gaming snacks and drinks, while you play on a 6-inch TFT monitor.
Yep. And your point is, don't we all do that?
You're obviously far more professional than me with this.
That's all work. That's all work, George.
Darren's like, what the hell have I wandered into here? This guy's he's like neglected his own child. This doesn't make any
committed,
sense.
Darren. I'm committed. That's what it is.
Now his wife, again, driven him all the way 5 hours to format, and he sits in the back playing a Japanese detective game.
Yeah. But this is the worst thing. This is where it turns, because you meet these other detectives. I won't go too far in. They have fortes, which is a special sort of technique they have for solving crimes. You've got amnesia, don't know who you are, blah, blah, blah. You find out you have a death god. He's like a little ghost that hangs around with you. And I thought, well, the death god will help us solve the crimes. It then turns out that the death god changes into Shimigami, who is a lady. I've got to be careful how I go further with this. And that's when it starts to get a little weirder, because she helps you solve crimes by making a detective labyrinth in a parallel universe. And she can help you. This is what she said so far. I haven't got much further than this, but she said, I've got to be careful here. She can help you by, if you stare at her chest for 8 seconds, she will then offer you help throughout the labyrinth. And you also need solution keys to go through the labyrinth, for which she vomits up for you. So you can see why I think the game took
this game called?
So the next time I'm staring at a woman's chest, I can just use the excuse, I'm trying to solve a crime.
You're trying to solve a crime. And you never know, she might throw up a key for you to go through to the next part of this labyrinth.
Darren, I don't want to rock the boat here, but I can see like a gaming 8-ball in the shape of this woman's chest, just her chest. You kind of shake it and then look underneath, and it's got the inner workings of an 8-ball, one of those magic 8-balls. Yeah. Don't retire to Hollywood too soon with that idea, but just remember where it came from.
But I like the game. I like the story. I've now come to this city. I can't remember the name of the city. We're now in this city, and I like the idea that
you like the story. You like the story.
I think the graphics are really good as well. That's an anime, over sort of more realistic graphics.
Cell shading style.
Yeah.
To be honest, the trailer didn't explain what you explained in any detail at all, but it looked interesting.
And
when you navigate these labyrinths, is it
a
JRPG in its style? Is it, because it sounds to me like you're describing a more like detective version of Persona.
Yeah, this is as far as I've got. I'm now going to enter my first labyrinth on this mystery I've got to do because I was on a train. I haven't got that far, but there's quick time events in there. There's almost like a point and click style. There's the adventure style. It's very text heavy. It seems to be a bit of everything, which I was enjoying, and I'm still enjoying the game. But that side of her being very giggly and forthcoming was quite a distraction from the game, because I thought I didn't see that coming at all. I thought that was just going to be your forte was a ghost that helped you. But then that sort of spun off on this direction. The only thing I can think of, the guy who was making it probably had a few too many drinks when he designed that part and just went off on a bit of a tangent. So I'm hoping the game will pull back round again. But it seems to reviewed pretty well. People seem to love the game, so I'm going to carry on playing and see where it goes. But it was a very odd sidetrack it went down.
I don't know if you've ever tried staring at a female's chest for 8 seconds in real life, but it normally stands you with a restraining order.
Yeah, I'm not going to try it in real life. I think I'll just stick to rain code, I think. But yeah, that's pretty much what I've been playing. George, how about you?
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Do you like video games, podcasts, and reminiscing? I'm actor, video game writer, and total sweetie pie, Connor Savage McCabe, and on each episode of Call Me By Your Game, I sit down with a guest for an intimate look at a special game from their past. Did you and your dad beat Spyro the Dragon over the holidays? Or was Halo 4 the one thing that united your roommates during your senior year of college? Stories like these are what Call Me By Your Game is about. From video game content creator Janet Garcia to Hades voice actor Courtney Vinay's, I interview wonderful comedians and game industry friends about these memories. Check us out wherever you get your podcasts, and maybe someday you'll call me by your game.
Well, Darren, what do you make of all that to begin with? He's a married man, so he's not lonely. I really don't know what's going on here.
I know, he's got a missus who drives him everywhere.
I
Gives
know.
him a life of Riley.
To be fair,
at the back being inappropriate with digital mistresses.
well, to be fair, when this section did come up, Mrs. RGT's head did come around the door and say, "What are you playing?" And I was like, I don't know where this is going. This is the first part has been like this. To which a very confused Mrs. RGT watched for 5 minutes and was like, "I have no idea what you're doing." And I was like, "Oh, funny, nor do I." So
Okay.
yeah, so she was slightly bemused by it all, I think.
Skipping
Grandpa
quickly on.
Simpson gif in it of walking into the room, put my
Yeah.
hand
Mrs. RGT comes in, looks at the
Okay.
TV screen. She's like, "Right, you don't need me right now." Just a quick run through of what I've been playing. I'm trying to think now. That's true. We went out after Format, which is the correct name. It's not Fortnite at all. We went to Format. The next day, we went and had a little peruse of Manchester's shopping delights, and we ended up in game. And I picked up Life is Strange for the Switch, and they didn't have it in, did they? So when I got home, transpires they're on the PS Premium. So I clicked on the first game, thoroughly enjoying that.
Ooh,
through
good
to
recommendation from me then.
Another one, RGT, yes. Water only flows one way, and it's downhill to me.
Yeah, it's a great game.
Yeah, thoroughly enjoyed that. I think the writing in it was pretty good. I mean, I don't know what it's like to be a teenage girl in school, but if it's like that, then it ain't easy. The whole sort of time reversal mechanic was good. I like the way you could kind of go one way, test it, and then be like, actually, no, rewind, change my mind. Let's let it play out that way. And
Lovely
I did change
mechanic.
my mind a couple of times where I went a bit sort of nice, and I thought, no, actually, rewind. I'm going to be savage. And that kind of played out pretty well. There was a section, spoilers for a very, very old game at this point. There's a section where you make a decision that you think is for the best to make sure that a friend of yours grows up with a father. What you don't realize, which rocked me to my core when she greeted me at the door, she's been paralyzed in a car accident from the neck down.
Yeah.
But she's got her father, and I was like, okay, this is pretty savage, to be fair.
The
And
decisions are big in that game.
And when it unwinds itself and everything goes back to some form of normality, I was like, thank goodness for that, because I felt awful. Ashley Birch does a good turn as the aforementioned Chloe in that, obviously the voice of Aloy in Horizon Zero Dawn and the sequels. So that was not, I kept thinking, I know this voice from somewhere, but it didn't quite click because of the setting. And then when I Googled it, I was like, yes, of course. I've been playing a lot of Wrestling Empire on the Switch. I shouldn't like that game. It's broken. It's buggy. It's a mess. But when you play it in career, and I'm talking to I know the show's got a lot of these people here, but if you've played No Mercy back in the day and you wanted like a wrestling RPG that looked and felt a bit like that, you can do no wrong with this game. Doogie, I'm talking to you.
Is that only on Switch, George, or is that on?
It's on Steam.
Okay.
But as far as console's concerned, for some reason, the Switch got lucky, and I'm so grateful it did. Some of the things that you get wrapped up in, because it's got this procedurally generated career mode. Obviously, the world of professional wrestling is insane. The storylines are crazy. And this game actually provides you with these opportunities that come along, either in sort of feuds or the matches or the people that call you out. And it's across all these different genres and across all these different eras as well. So it's absolutely, I can't even speak for what a mess it is, but it just plays out. That lends more to the fact that it feels like wrestling, the craziness of it.
Yeah.
I suplexed someone I ended up in a wrestling match, an impromptu wrestling match in a subway, and I flipped a guy, and he landed on the train track as a train ran over him.
No.
I'm not,
Wow.
No.
but that
So
all
was that-
played into it.
Oh, it weren't a glitch or nothing then. That
No,
actually was part.
The free form of this game and the actual way it scripts it afterwards, because then it was in the news that he'd been severely injured and paralyzed, and he may, if ever, never return to the ring again. That's how bad it was. And then the next week, I was backstage and he was in a wheelchair.
Oh.
And he comes over and he's like, I don't want any more of this. Okay, I want to kind of put this bad blood behind us now and move on because my career's done. Are you okay with that? And I wanted to say yes, but I thought, what happens if I say no?
Oh, no.
I said,
You did
no.
not.
And it broke him. It did.
Oh,
And the way
no.
that played out, I was like, this game, honestly, it's put together by one guy, M. Dickey. And
That's quite a deep story, that.
and the way it plays out is unbelievable. The way that the people within the game make teams and tag teams and partnerships, and they mix and greet with each other. And when you walk the backstage area, you can go to your hotel, you can go to the airport, you can go to anywhere. And don't get me wrong, I'm not selling this as a graphical showcase. It probably wouldn't break a sweat next to a PlayStation 1 wrestling game, but it is immense fun, real joy. The main meat of the sandwich I've been chewing on this week is Spider-Man 2. Can't speak enough about it. I think I'm at the last section now. I think I've got all the collectibles. I need to do some Venom powers and then Miles Venom powers takedowns. We have to use the electric ones. So I've just got to grind through a few of those. I just plan on using only those moves now with Miles till the end of the game. And I should imagine that will drop.
Yeah.
I still can't quite get the Astoria or financial district to Astoria only using web wings, which is frustrating.
Have you looked on there is a hint in the video showing you how to do it on the thing?
I have, but I didn't want to go that way. It felt more difficult. I don't know if it's the only way, but from the financial district, you can get to the bottom of the other island and then up that way.
Now, if you cut across quite early, you can get a jet stream across and then one up the river and then one across, and that takes you straight in. You do it in doesn't take long at all. So if you just go in where it shows you on the little hint video, you can go onto the water and then you cut up and then you can cut across. That's like a sort of S shape. If you get on that, it's quite good. It's quite a good.
The revealing thing about the video for me was the fact of how they entered the flight. I think a lot of people have been struggling because I know a lot of people have actually got there, yourself included, and gone, oh, it didn't unlock. The key to, I think, that video was the fact that they jumped off a roof and went straight into a dive and then into the glide. Normally, I would probably start by maybe whipping myself up in the air, which is obviously that would be a web-based move.
Yeah, because I think the first time I done the R2 power jump thing. I don't know what it's called. You go straight up in the air, completed it, and it didn't pop. And I thought, oh, so next time I just jumped off and went straight into my web wings and done it, and then it did pop. Yeah, so, yeah. I think that's then included as extra help if you're using a web pull.
It's very strict in terms of what it will allow, how it allows you to enter the traversal, but it is what it is.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, but I think, like I say, if you do a jump straight into it, that will pop it.
Other than that, I don't really think I've been playing a great deal. I downloaded some stuff out the sale, games that I've loved along the way. Got the World War II flight sim on the go, and I've downloaded Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, not the touch version on the Switch, but the actual OG proper Roller Coaster Tycoon. Always been a fan of that, so I'm looking forward to continuing with that. And if it may please you, sir, to know I haven't touched Anno once this week.
So you haven't added to your 500 hours on there?
Although I may play it this afternoon.
Yeah, I thought that might be the case.
Darren, if you ever do Anno merch, I'm all over it like a rash on a tramp's armpit.
Gotcha.
I can't imagine there's many people asking for that, but you never know. With all that said and done, I think, gentlemen,
can I just add in before we move on to Darren?
What's going on here, RGT? Where are you taking us?
Well, I'm just going to add in the challenge accepted on Discord. The winner of the first month's tournament, which was the highest score on the first level of Tony Hawk's.
Who 900 into the front.
That was Royce Space Monk. He got in the lead and no one could catch him. 1.9 million he done. I got to 1.2 or 3, I think, but I couldn't get nowhere near him. So he was the honoured winner of the first challenge accepted, and we are now on to the second challenge accepted. This is done by Digital Monk, bless him.
Why don't we send him a t-shirt?
Yeah, well, he won the comment of the month for the September, so he's got a t-shirt on his way to him. He chose a t-shirt over his £10 thing, so that's already sorted. So that's
like Darren is dripping in UCP merch.
Yeah, already sorted. So so his new one this month, if you're interested and want to join in with this is Sonic 2 Emerald Hill Zone, is it the correct way of saying it? The first level there is we're doing a speed run. At the moment, Zangief is top with 22 seconds, which is ridiculously quick.
Actually, let's take a moment.
Zangief would go that fast, would you?
No.
He's an absolute machine. And we actually met this fine gentleman in real life at Format. He's a Manchester resident, isn't he? And he came along and we saw him there. And I tell you what, he made the night. It was wonderful to see him.
Great guy, fantastic. Yeah.
And hopefully he's listening now and he's smiling to himself and thinking, do you know that George isn't as bad as I thought? He's tolerable.
Whatever RGT says, he's not.
I hate him.
But yeah, he's top of the table at the moment with 22 seconds. There's been a few people swapping places. It sort of went 32, 28, 25, 24, 23, 22. And I mean, I think the world record's like 17 and a half or 16. So they're creeping down to some very quick time. I haven't even tried yet. They kept saying, RGT, when do you put your score in or your time in? I'm thinking, I don't think I'm going to get anywhere near that.
I'm not going anywhere near challenge accepted. It's like my kryptonite, I should imagine.
Well, Zangief did say he had to stop the other night because his thumbs were that sore. He'd done so many runs through of the first level.
Calm down, Fat Zangief. I feel like you got it in the bag.
Chill. So, so if you want to join in, that's on our Discord, challenge accepted. All you got to do, you can play it on any emulator or system or original hardware, and then just take a screenshot of your time, pop it on there, and then every week or 2 weeks, Digital Monk will be updating the top 5s or top 10s, however many people are in it, and he'll put a high score table up, and you can see where you are and how quick you got to get up to the top there.
And this is all just for bragging rights.
It's all just for bragging rights, for a bit of fun. But I think it's a great format because I think because it is just quick and easy little challenges. You haven't got to sit there and play a game for 5 hours. You can jump in. If a lot of people are playing these on the emulators, handheld emulators and stuff. So you can just, if you're at work in your lunch break, you can have a couple of runs, see what times you can get. It's good fun. It's quick in and out. So it seems to be popular. And it's going from strength to strength. So jump in, have a go.
One last little ditty before we head into the news. We've obviously, while we're at Format, we met a man. We met Stingray. Pictures are on the Discord. We actually met Stingray.
We did meet Stingray, yeah.
Wow. I don't even know what to say about that. You probably see something different in the picture than I saw on the Discord, but I saw a man in a smart suit with an obnoxious looking shirt and tie and a mullet. And the guy rocked it like a king.
Yes.
I think he was a little bit confused while we were all gathering around him wanting pictures.
Yes, I think he was a bit confused as to why he'd suddenly become famous overnight.
Not forgetting when I asked him, I was the guy that previously described himself as having got halfway through his girlfriend's sandwich before realising it wasn't the appropriate sandwich. I can't imagine how I greeted this gentleman in real life. Okay, let's not keep Darren hanging around. Let's get into the news. Scour the very darkest region of the internet to bring you the latest stories. First up, keeping the British end up, sir. Little Bond one-liner for you there, but it's been a while since we've heard of Project 007, the upcoming original James Bond escapade developed by hitmaker IO Interactive. As part of a sprawling featuring Edge magazine, however, CEO Hakan Abran has shared the first tidbit from the anticipated title, describing it as the ultimate spycraft fantasy. He's got to work some way here to be better than Alpha Protocol. That's all I'm saying. The magazine quotes has been pitched as the ultimate spycraft fantasy, which suggests gadgets and perhaps a step away from the murderous objectives of Agent 47. And it adds, The few of the breadcrumbs we're able to pick up in the office suggest a tone closer to Daniel Craig than Roger Moore. It's a shame. And perhaps a more scripted experience than Hitman's freeform jaunts. It's not much to go on for now, with the title obviously years away, but we'd be disappointed if the release did away with the sandbox gameplay of Hitman. I reckon James Bond should translate perfectly to the black box mission format with the multiple ways of solving the same problem available. Add in the aforementioned gizmos, and there's tons of potential here. IO Interactive is keeping itself busy right now, in addition to the continued development of its Hitman game, which already received a new mission recently. It's building an online fantasy RPG, although this is expected to be published by Microsoft and exclusive to Xbox platforms. Let's hope we don't wait too much longer for our first look at the James Bond title, though. It's right at the top of our wanted list. Darren, obviously you must, being an Englishman, have some experience of 007, but what's your history with the 007 from a gaming perspective to this point? Were you a GoldenEye veteran back in the day?
Myself, no. I was at uni when N64 was about, so I come before I went to uni. I was playing hooked up PCs, so I come from PC gaming. So
yeah,
the excitement of 4 people around one TV wasn't as exciting as having all your mates round having a LAN party.
True.
Where you couldn't see each other's monitors, unless, well, occasionally you could if you were sat next to the person, but we was doing like Quake, Motocross Madness, Midtown Madness, Hexen, which never ran well. I remember running it in like a postage stamp on one of the PCs. 'Cause
we've all been there.
That's as good as you could run it on that PC. So yeah, never really saw N64. So someone had it in the halls, but all that we ever played on it was ISS.
All right, okay.
So GoldenEye really passed me by. So saw it all get the plaudits and everything in the gaming mags. So still kept up with it, but I never got round to playing it properly.
Have you played any James Bond games? What about the EA slew of like Nightfire and all that sort of garbage that they
No.
Oh, I shouldn't say EA make garbage, Darren. They make absolutely quality games. I must say. All of it.
Yeah, don't think I've played any James Bond games.
Really?
At all. Yeah.
Do you like the sexy spy, or is this have we careered down a complete wrong turn here?
I think most of it came from I didn't like FPS on consoles. So again, coming from a PC where you've got keyboard mouse controls, like playing, even when I first got my Xbox and had Halo, it just felt weird, and I just kind of avoided playing stuff.
Wow.
So yeah,
you really are part of the master race here.
Yeah, it's weird because once I'd left uni, never had like I said, PC. Once you've had it about 2 years, it's gone. You know, it's like you aren't playing anything else. Yeah. So once I'd like finished uni, I never went back to PC gaming. It was just one of those things that I did growing up, and then it was a while since. So I was that was when retro gaming wasn't a thing, but I was able to go to Game Station and buy everything that I ever wanted for like hardly any money. So I basically got a Dreamcast again. So I was playing a fair bit of Dreamcast.
Nice.
At that time. So yeah, all these like FPSs and especially Bond ones just never really came onto my radar.
And what about the films?
I absolutely adore the films.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Despise the games, but I love those films.
Yeah. Watched most of them through with a wife. We went on a thing where we just watched them all in order.
Oh, nice.
So we're up to.
Was she a Bond aficionado before this sort of ritual started, or?
Well, she's Italian Albanian, and we're also 14 years apart. So trying to find films that you can both watch isn't always easy. And then she was like, "Oh, I like Bond," so I was like, "Right," and it was pretty much like Alan Partridge, just get everything. Like, right,
lifting the VHS box set and crack on.
Yeah, and it was that, just like started watching them. And it was funny because I watched them as a kid because we'd go around my grandma's house and she'd have taped them off ITV or whatever.
Oh,
so
those ads though, they're almost better than the film, Darren.
Yeah. So that was my thing with growing up with Bond, was like watching it with, at grandma's house with my brothers or my other cousins. So that was it. So I hadn't watched most of these for quite some time. And it's quite funny now how sexist it really is.
I was going to ask you this question. Did watching Bond with your grandmother cause any red-faced cheeks? Because I can remember some sauciness happening on the screen. That or Carry On, and me being like, "Oh, this is awkward."
I can't remember. I think it's because when you're a kid, you don't really like have that in your head, do you? It's
Not
only
at
when you're
all.
in like when you're in your, I don't know, you must be like coming up 12 years old onwards, maybe a bit, where it probably is a bit dodgy. But we were watching these when we were like, probably like 8 to 10 years old, I think, around these sort of. I'm the eldest of 4, so yeah, if I was like probably 10 max. And she just like she's the responsible for like why I'm into so many films like Indiana Jones, Star Wars. We watched all the first time around her house.
That's awesome.
And yeah, Bonds was those, but I hadn't revisited any like for all these times. So I've stayed with all the modern stuff, but I hadn't seen any Timothy Dalton ones.
They're actually really good, aren't they?
Yeah, really enjoyed them. Yeah, this is the good thing. They're fairly modern, but like when you haven't watched them, it's a pretty good storyline. And so yeah, that was one of new ones for me. So I think we're up to The World Is Not Enough. We haven't got to there yet. So I think that's just about where we've reached.
Done well.
Obviously, I've seen the Daniel Craig movies, and they're all but one was enjoyable, I'd say.
Okay, well, it seems like your experience of the games hasn't gone that far. I mean, I'm excited for this Project 007. And not maybe a couple, 2-3 years ago, I played a game called Alpha Protocol, which was like a spy RPG that was by Obsidian, if memory serves. I seem to be a fan of broken, buggy games. I'm certainly not, but it was a broken, buggy mess that sort of played out in such a wonderful way. Really enjoyed that, even though it was broken. But to see a more polished version of that played out by IO Interactive, I think could be great. RGT, what's your thoughts on the 007 game?
I think, it's the same with where systems are nowadays. There's potential there to be a really, really good game. We've said before, with movie licenses like Indiana Jones and 007, if you get the right people doing it, and it's done right, you could make something really good there. So I think, yeah, I could be quite excited by that. I think.
Question: were you channeling your inner Bond when you were laying in the back of your car being driven home from format on your Switch? Did you feel like Pierce Brosnan controlling a BMW 7 Series from a dodgy old Nokia?
Funny enough, yeah, I did. Yeah. I even changed my mum's name in my phone book on my mobile to M.
Nice.
If you'd have done that to Moneypenny, I think questions would have been asked. We all love Mumsy, but not that much.
But yeah, I think there's potential to be a very, very good game here, and I think, like you say, it's got to be done right though.
I think there's a chance for it to be the best version of 007 we've ever had. Obviously, technology has dictated it's normally a shooting game historically, with the odd sort of weird gadget tacked on the side. But I feel like if you could get to the point in time where you were role-playing that within a universe much more like Hitman, I think it would actually lend to Bond far better than an FPS ever could. Yeah,
definitely. And I mean, they've always been successful with the Hitman games, and, that sort of espionage and stealthiness, and it'd all go well into a James Bond game, I think. So they got good experience of making those games.
Awesome. Okay. Well, slap me up the backside of the legs with this next piece of news.
This is never nice. Earlier this week, Bungie confirmed it had to say goodbye to many colleagues after a report revealed that the PlayStation-owned studio had axed 8% of its workforce, around 100 jobs. Bungie higher-ups had also revealed just weeks before to staff that the company was running at 45% below its revenue projections for the current year. Now, in an update from the Destiny 2 development team on the official Bungie website, the studio has addressed this difficult week while mentioning how the team knows it has lost a lot of the community's trust. Bungie's plan going forward is to rectify the situation by making the next expansion the final shape, an unforgettable Destiny experience that matches Destiny 2's best experiences, referencing Forsaken, The Witch Queen, and The Taken King. The next expansion currently has more than 650 dedicated teammates working on it, and in the new weeks ahead, Bungie plans to reveal what's on the short-term horizon, beginning with the new season in November. After this, it will start unpacking the bigger, bolder, brighter vision for the final shape. The job cuts currently taking place within PlayStation are reportedly part of a larger money-saving initiative with a number of other Sony studios impacted. Even some key figures have departed, including the boss Jim Ryan and PlayStation veteran Connie Booth. Sony originally acquired Bungie early last year. Not good news.
No, not good news. And you know, just in as a highlight, really, of some other stuff that's been going on there, because other studios have also had cuts, and that's not just the rank and file. Obviously, with Jim Ryan and Connie Booth also leaving the business, there's been some distinct changes. We keep threatening an episode about what's going on at PlayStation, and there are a few stories that we can pull together to weave into probably what looks like a cohesive tapestry of what we think is actually going on there. Obviously, in the shape of a rechanged industry, Sony probably looking to consolidate itself, maybe before a new acquisition, maybe after, maybe they've gone down the wrong road with a lot of the MMOs that they've got going on behind the scenes, or the free-to-play model that they were looking to embrace. Obviously, Destiny had a little soiree over to Naughty Dog and didn't like what they saw in the factions that they've been working on. All the news out of that is that the director says he's still working on it, even though apparently it's been cancelled. So very confusing stories.
Yeah, it's very secretive, and there's lots of rumours coming out as to actually what is going on. But until we know more, I don't think we'll know too much about that. But you can only sort of surmise at the moment what the plan is going forward for PlayStation and where they aim to take these studios. But at the moment, unfortunately for those 100 developers, they've lost their jobs for it at the moment.
Because pulling the veil off the games industry, I know it can sometimes devolve to playground wars of backing whatever console mumsy and dadsy bought for you. It actually, behind all that, are real people literally slogging their guts out to give you your digital treat. But they also need to pay the mortgage, and sadly these people are going to have to be looking around. I should imagine they're insanely talented, and good luck to them all, and we wish you the very best in finding a new role ASAP. But it's never easy and it's never nice, and as I always say with these things, we must remember there's real people at the back end of all this that sadly at the moment a little bit unsure about their future. So thinking of you guys, if my thoughts can help you in any way, I doubt it, but lots of sympathy for you all. This last bit of news, Darren, it's your time to pull out something from the news bag. What have you found for us?
I've got Arise Sir. So the legendary Zelda producer, Eiji Aonuma, has had quite the year when you consider the launch of the Tears of the Kingdom and all. But 2023 just keeps getting bigger by the head of the series, as it has now been named a Knight of the Order of Arts and Letters by the French Minister of Culture. According to French website Le Figaro, no date has been set for the presentation just yet, but soon enough, Aonuma will be joining his Nintendo's teammate Shigeru Miyamoto as a recipient of the title. So, does this mean that the guys behind Zelda are technically real-life knights? Yes, it does. Does it mean they can carry swords? No. So, fantastic achievement, well deserved. Aonuma worked as a director on Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Wind Waker, and Twilight Princess, and has served as a series producer for over 10 years now. So when you consider the popularity of Zelda at the moment, that's quite the CV. So yeah, wishing Mr. Aonuma huge congratulations. What about you guys? Is it?
I mean, it's always wonderful when games are celebrated across a pantheon of forms, and the fact that the French culture ministry has decided to honour them, or honour Aonuma. And well done, by the way. You're dealing with a class act when he pronounces Le Figaro with a French accent and doesn't even misstep in the minefield that is a Japanese name. You ran through there flawlessly. The sort of person that, so the minefield's safe. I would take one step and blow my leg off. You just ran through, not even a scratch. Absolutely unbelievable. But the fact that games, which I've always recognised as pieces of art and entertainment at the same time, the story, the graphics, the way it all ties together, the sound development, everything like that, for them to be recognised as a form of art is high praise indeed, and to be knighted as a pinnacle of that, I think it is really quite nice. To some people, it might mean something. To others, it's probably the trappings of a royalist history. But to me, it seems like quite the honour, and I should imagine Enuma will think the same. Interesting stuff there. His CV, as you say, Darren, reads quite like the who's who of gaming, isn't it?
It's crazy, that, isn't it?
Ocarina of Time, yeah, I'll rest on my laurels for a while. Here's Majora's Mask, I'll rest on my laurels for a while. How's about a cel-shaded Zelda? Oh, crikey, yeah, why not? And then Twilight Princess as well, just to slap me on the back of the legs with that. As long as he's doing okay, I suppose we'll probably won't mind to be a penny behind him. I'm trying to think what my best achievement is, and it was probably the wooden spoon at Sports Day Primary School, about 8 and 9. I think the wooden spoon's a good prize, Darren. I don't know if you can confirm that or no.
I'd take it.
Yeah.
it's got a practical use, hasn't
it? Surprise that keeps giving.
Yeah, I've got a Coca-Cola Swimming Award.
Really?
There, yeah, level 3. I don't know what level 3 is, but that's what I got when I was a kid.
Let's imagine it's the pinnacle of swimming.
Yeah, I'd say I must be up with Tom Daley somewhere.
Yeah, definitely.
I can sync with the best of them.
Of course, I'm gone. Okay, let's call that the news. All done. Let's stick a little pin in that bad boy. Community corrections. Did we miss anything? Do you have an opinion on the take on the news that we missed? If so, RGT, how would the collected masses get in contact and say, George, everyone else pronounced Enuma's name correct apart from you? Or why didn't you
Bethesda?
Don't you dare. Bethesda.
There we go.
I don't even know what it is anymore. I'm that confused. But, community corrections, no doubt. How would they get in contact and let me know I don't know my Bethesdas from a Bethesda's?
Well, I can get contact.
Teeth fell out.
Questions at unofficialcontrollerpodcast.com, or you can DM us on Instagram or Twitter, or as someone has done this week in community corrections on the Discord channel, George.
Yes. Roast Space Monk pulled me and I put Tom out for one episode, and all of a sudden I find myself on the bottom class of community corrections.
Yes.
It transpires that. Was it the Wii version came with some DLC for Resident Evil 4?
He's put on here Resident Evil Separate Ways was included in the PS2 version of Resident Evil 4, also on the Wii as well.
We can't know everything all of the time, but that's why you guys pull us up for it and point us in the right direction. Yeah,
great example. So, we've got a little community corrections tab on the Discord. So whenever you want to pull George up, obviously not me, but whenever you want to pull George up, just jump on there and let him know how wrong he is.
Feel free. The fact that it's been quiet for so long, I must have been doing something right.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Or have I not been on air for a while? I can't remember. Probably the latter. Also, obviously, as we've mentioned a couple of times, but we try and play it down because only the cool kids go to the Discord. Only the cool kids do. RGT, how would they find a little link tree to the Discord? Where would they go?
Well, you can, if you're into Discord, you can just jump on Discord and type in Unofficial Controller Podcast, jump in. Or if you can either contact us and we can send you invites, or anyone you know is on there can send you invites. And just join up. We've got, like I say, various people from YouTubers to other podcasts to everyone who's on there. And it's a great little place. Like I say, we've got the challenge accepted. My hidden gems are on there, like I do. So there's bits and pieces for everyone. So it's, good little community, good little gang on there. And jump on and say hi. Tell
me about the seduction of Darren. Is he in there yet? Or are you still got to buy him that meal and take him out?
Still got to lure him in a bit, but hopefully we'll get Darren in there. And then, he can drop all the Numskull bits and pieces in there for the future.
Yeah, all the links and all that. We would love to see that, and I'm sure the Discord members would be finding much usage from that. So we've come full circle. You mentioned him there. It's almost like we're a slick unit. Well, don't let that fool you. This week we're obviously, if you've been listening to this point, Darren's joined us from Numskull, and this is the section of the show where we're going to dig a little bit deeper into what all that means, who Numskull are, who Darren is, and much other things, the tie-ups, all that sort of good stuff. So let's kick it off. Darren, obviously, thank you for joining us. Very honoured to have you here. Tell us a little bit about your role, if you may.
Yeah, so I'm the marketing manager for Numskull. Well, there's actually two of us in that role. So we divide the products between ourselves.
Okay.
So the Tubbz, for example, that falls to my Portler, who works alongside me. I deal with mainly quarter arcades and anything that's associated with video games. So the Sega side, Destiny side, Res Evil, Silent Hill, anything that falls that side comes under my remit as well. And obviously, we do a wide range of products. So that does occasionally, some stuff kind of lands in the middle. So if it's like a Sega Tubbz, for example, so it would normally be to Paula, but I'll chime in and deal with some of that as well.
Okay, so you came to Numskulls from a bit of a different angle. Doing my research to try and put on my pork pie with the word press tucked in the side of it makes me feel like a real journalist. But you came to the industry from something not normally, I'm being a bit bold here, but not normally associated with gaming. You've got a fitness background. So what brought you here in the first place?
Yeah, so my background in gym industry, I've been all sorts, but I was basically managing gyms when Numskull approached me. During that time, I've pretty much always ran social media channels. So I had I've still got a Twitter and an Instagram under King Monkey 25. So I was running those, and bizarrely, I started. Pretty much 2016, I started putting stuff on Instagram, purely because I started buying stuff. I basically moved to open a new gym. So I was away from everyone. But because I've been used to paying London rents, I could afford, when I went to Stafford, which is where this was, I could afford a semi-detached house. So I started filling it with...
What a bloke.
Yeah.
So I ended up with 2 Trinitrons and started importing Japanese consoles.
Didn't just do it the normal way, though. You went in the sort of high-priced, sort of metropolitan cocktail way of doing it. You went down the Japanese. Why so, Darren?
Yeah, I mean, the long and short of it is when I saw them, like, I've always, like, Mega Drive's always been my jam. It's always been the one I've had most attachment to. Super Nintendo, not far behind it. But I always knew the Super Nintendo as Super Famicom, as most kids growing up. Like, we all called it a Super Famicom because we hadn't been told it was going to be a Super Nintendo, and all Mean Machines and everyone else called it Super Famicom. So both the Mega Drive and the Super Fami were always like with me. I saw a Japanese Mega Drive when I was, I don't know, 14, maybe 13. And that massive 16-bit writing in the purple stripe just struck me because until then, I'd only seen it in the magazine and it was literally just that little corner in Mean Machines. So I always wanted Japanese consoles, and obviously as you get older, you realise that there's also a difference between the what we got here in PAL regions to what they got. So I decided if I'm going to do it, I want to get, decent stuff. I want to basically run it in 60 hertz, have SCART, so I get get a better experience, I suppose.
You wanted the highest grade of retro gaming experience you could get. You didn't want this watered down in any way. You wanted the purest form you could jack in your eyeballs.
Yeah, the other thing is the games. So when you get Japanese games, they've got wraparound covers a lot of the time. So the artwork on the Japanese covers is absolutely sublime. You get full color instruction manuals, where obviously in the PAL region, we just got like black and white 5 language things that were like, you were lucky if you got some artwork in there. Most of the time it was like a really bad screenshot and that was it. So these have full blown artwork, and when you get them, sometimes you realize that's where Mean Machines and stuff were taking the artwork from that you saw in the magazine.
Yeah.
So it's only when you get these things. It's the same with Super Mario World on the Super Famicom. You open the manual is like a fold out poster. So you start to realize, this is where this comes from. This is how they got all the key art that they were using in the magazine at the time.
Interesting.
So I always had an affection for that. I basically, when I had a PAL Mega Drive, my first ever import game was Sonic the Hedgehog, which has a full color manual, and it's amazing. It's still one of the best manuals you can have. And you can pick it up for peanuts. I say peanuts, it's like 20, 30 quid to get the Japanese version of Sonic the Hedgehog. Is
that how much it is these days?
Yeah.
Blimey, I remember a time when they couldn't give that away.
Yeah, same happened to Altered Beast. It happened to me with Altered Beast. I had to go looking for a copy last year and couldn't find one cheaper, a good one. Couldn't find a cheaper one with 15 quid. Like I say, you could pick it up for 2 quid at one point. Yeah,
people would throw it at you with disgust, wouldn't they? They had that many of them. That's amazing. So, one quick question before we dive a little bit deeper on that: can you read Japanese, or do you just look at these things as if they're a sushi menu?
Same. That literally.
Okay.
Don't recognize any symbols or anything like that. No. It's just purely that I like the artwork in the manuals was the main thing. They're a variant that I never got a chance to own loads of when I was a kid because of a limited budget. So all I had was Sonic and New Zealand Story, which stayed a Japanese exclusive on the Mega Drive for its life. Because I absolutely adored New Zealand Story, still do. And it's like when I had it on the Specky, you couldn't get it on the Master System at the time, so that came out after the Mega Drives one. My mates had Amigas. That was probably the best looking version at the time.
Yeah.
But I actually got a Japanese adapter with Sonic. That's how I ended up playing that. And then New Zealand Story was the only import game on top of Sonic that I ended up buying for quite some time.
So now you've gone at this. Now you had to go at this with adult money and seemingly like half a mortgage's worth of disposable budget. What was the sort of tentpole title that you went chasing in your sort of Japanese Trinitron era?
I really wanted Rainbow Islands for some time, just because, again, I love Taito games. You know, at the end of the day, they're very easy to pick up and play, but they're the cute 'em ups or the cute games that are really hard to play.
Yeah.
So New Zealand Story and the Mega Drive is a prime example where you haven't got the map like in the bottom left corner like you should have in the arcade. You have the map so you could get to the exit. For one reason or another, that's not in the Mega Drive game, which makes it freaking solid in, I can't remember which level, but it gets to a point where I had to watch a playthrough to figure out how to get out of this room. But going back to that's basically collecting all these Japanese games. I never had anything that I really, really wanted. But along the way, you just kind of pick things up and it leads you down the path onto getting other things. So I always wanted to play Batman. So again, that was one that never came out in PAL for a long, long time after it was available. And on the Japanese one, they come in little small cases. I don't know if you've seen them. The Sunsoft games all have like little tiny cases. So I got Batman. That led me on to getting, what did I get after Batman? I'm just turning around in my games room just to see what it was. Oh, Lemmings was the next one. So Lemmings was another one.
So this was a Japanese import you got yourself, or were you playing this PAL?
Yeah, so this was, I had the PAL version of Lemmings, which I always really liked. That I'd played that before the Amiga version because my mates had Amigas and I had Mega Drive. And I got pretty good at playing that on a joypad, to be fair, even though it should be a mouse game.
It should be a mouse game, yeah. But
just pressing start. I got used. Got so used to pressing start, whacking the cursor over to the left or right, unpausing it, clicking your diggers or your climbers or whatever, and unpausing again. But yeah, with that, I ended up wanting all 7 of these little Sunsoft games, so that became a little target. I never wanted a full collection. Just 1, never had the budget for it. And 2, you end up with a shed load of games that you're never going to play. That's my
man after my own heart. Yeah, when I've collected for systems, I tend to try and find a magazine from the era and try and pick out maybe the top 10 games in their charts or listings, because games kind of that were favourites, critical darlings at the time, sometimes don't hold up, or they've maybe been lost to time. So building sort of these mini genres of either the exclusives or the must-haves, and then as you say, you just start sniffing around the format as a whole, and then you find like these subgenres. Very rewarding to collect these sort of self-made mini challenges that we set ourselves as gaming collectors. What is that? Would you say that was your favorite deep dive, or is there another more exciting one?
It's remained my favorite all this time. It's the one thing where I don't part with. I'm currently, because I'm moving house and I need some more shelf space, I'm selling a load of the Super Famicom games that I bought because I don't have nostalgia for them. I kind of collected them without the nostalgia. And to me, they're kind of more disposable because also the Japanese. So I end up playing the US ROM via my Everdrive. So I'm not even playing the game. Not even playing the game that I own. So the other thing with Mega Drive games is it's very easy to take them off a shelf and open them up and put the cartridge in. Whereas Super Famicom games, they're in a box protector. Then you've got to open the box. Then you've got the cartridge tray. It's just like a hassle to actually take that game out.
Wow, so, we've been very spoiled, haven't we?
Yeah, ended up like owning way more than I ever had the intention of owning or what I could have thought about owning. So at the minute, I'm just, like I say, slowly dwindling it down just so that I just keep the stuff that I want. So it's pretty similar to what you've just said, George. I'm keeping, I don't know, 20 to 30 Super Family games based on like how good they are and nostalgia. So never part with Super Mario Kart, Super Mario World, F-Zero, like my Street Fighters, all the kind of pillars, if you like, the ones that everyone knows. But for me, it's not just having those on a shelf, but they've also got like really good artwork in them. And then there's also the Bomberman series. That was another mini deep dive where I ended up getting all 5 Super Bomberman. Just because
have you got the Sunsoft Bomberman adapter then? If that's the case, of course,
yeah. If you ever go on my Insta,
stud.
No friends to use a multi-tap with, but I've got pretty much all the multi-taps.
Yeah, but you can walk around knowing that you're probably one of the coolest people in the UK. There can't have been that many Bomberman multi-taps survived, and you've got one of them, which puts you in at least the top 250 dateable men, much to your wife's dissatisfaction, I would say. That Bomberman multi-tap is...
it's amazing, isn't it? Just the fact that someone thought that up.
And then as well, we talk about peripherals. At the time, the best you could get was like a badly shaped, unergonomic joystick in the shape of a predator's head, or worse, Bart Simpson's spiky hair, which doesn't really lend itself to sort of being gentle on your fingers, does it really?
It's mad those ever came out.
I think they need to be re-released just from a nostalgia point of view. There's your second top tip for the day. I can't remember what they were called. They were like figure sticks or something like that. I'm sure they'll let us know in community corrections what they were called. But
the characteristics or something along. It was a pun on that, wasn't it?
If that wasn't the name,
it is now.
It needs to be now, Darren. That's absolutely brilliant. Okay, so what you talked about the Mega Drive, Stroke Genesis, and the Famicom Super NES in your collection. What else did you have plugged into those retro CRTs?
So I ended up getting a Saturn for the first time. So I never owned a Saturn back in the day because again that was PC Master Race. So a lot of those. Even I had a PS1.
Yeah.
But that was also because we also had we also had a writer at that point. So that helped a little bit. So I was playing. I only really played like Gran Turismo on PlayStation. I didn't play loads of different games just because I love driving games, and that was better than anything the PC had. But PC had things like the touring car games that were running in far higher res.
Yeah,
so I'd spent a fair bit of money on my PC, so that's why I never touched Saturn games, just purely because I had PC and PlayStation was pretty much boxing everything off.
Yeah.
And some of the Saturn stuff came over. So there was a couple of things, I know, not so much the Sega's Virtua series, because they needed the Diamond Edge cards. So they were specifically made for those. But there was games like Comic Zone came over, bizarrely.
Really? I didn't know this.
Yeah. I remember playing Comic Zone, but it sounds wrong, but like you've almost grown out of it, because I come from Mega Drive and gone to Amiga 1200 and then a PC, and I wasn't playing platformers so much.
Yeah.
And that type of game, it just didn't grab me at the time. Earthworm Jim was actually the first Windows 95 game. That was the coolest thing, because you could run it in a little window.
Yeah.
It seemed mad. That seemed absolutely mental at the time. Like now, it's just like anything can run in a window. But yeah, that was cool. But yeah, that was basically what happened there. So Saturn was almost unknown territory for me.
Nice.
Being a massive Mega Drive fan, I knew I'd missed out, just because it was the jump. Sega had done it so well, but no one realised because of how good PlayStation was.
Yeah. I think Sega kind of did an assessment of we've talked about this in the past, but Sega did an assessment of what gamers might want. And they just give us a more revved up 16-bit version of the games we've been playing. But they got caught a little bit wrong in the two-step, and obviously 3D gaming suddenly started to take to the forefront, and they kind of got a little bit left behind there. But their dedication, Shinobi X is a prime example, to the sort of 16-bit but done in a 32-bit, a proper true 32-bit way. Those games looked and still look incredible. The pixel artwork, the whole bag of tricks was immense, and the Saturn enabled them to do that like no other machine. But sadly, as gamers, our noses are in the air. As you say, we'd kind of played the 16-bit platform. Platforms felt like old hat, didn't they?
Yeah, it was those graphics of where you, like say, everyone wanted Wipeout. It was one of those where it was like everything was like Tekken, Wipeout. They were the ones that people. It's so bizarre. I still find it bizarre that Sega kind of missed out on the 3D when they pretty much started it with Virtua Fighter.
Yeah.
It just seemed that, like, you think surely like that would have been what the Saturn was going to be made from. And obviously they ended up having to fudge it and like try and do an afterthought, if you like, to be a bit better with its 3D capabilities.
Just throw chips at this thing, guys. It'll be okay. And sadly it wasn't.
And like who knew? Programming 2 CPUs isn't easy.
Well, there's something they're probably still learning to this day. Manufacturers of machines, they kind of tend to. I think they've kind of got to the point now where it's just PCs or laptops in boxes. But prior to that, some of the architecture they were putting out would sometimes be just like a complete dead end as to what the rest of the industry was doing. PS2, PS3, both prime examples. Obviously, PS2 had the critical mass to mean that developers had to put themselves through the pain, but it sure wasn't easy. And then you have Microsoft on the other side of the fence, basically doing a DirectX, and obviously this is where he gets his name, but a Direct Xbox, DirectX. I don't even know I can say that without enunciating it, without sounding like Direct Xbox. But to those in the know, they know what DirectX is. And that was obviously very easy to do PC ports. Dreamcast, Sega realized a little bit late, and did the same with the Dreamcast. And that probably started that whole process of putting PCs in boxes, for want of a better word, because some of the PC ports on Dreamcast were actually really good. I feel like I've took you down a little bit of a sidetrack here. Why don't we talk a little bit more about Numskulls? You mentioned Numskull Games on the way in. Nice prop by you. You're not only... You're like the guy from Spaceballs. You've got the t-shirt, the lunchbox. You're even playing the games. No doubt you've even got a Numskull flamethrower in the back there. Numskull Games. We'll cover that off if we may now, just quickly. What's the story there? Because obviously all the peripherals, all the nice bits of merch that they make, and then Numskull Games. And obviously you're playing your current game of the week from them. What can you tell us about Numskull Games?
Yeah, so the Games is basically an indie label. That's essentially what it is, and it's kind of pretty similar to most indie labels. It's to give voice to like these devs that are working hard but don't know how to market it. Essentially, a lot of the time you've got people. If you walk around like EGX and places like that, where devs are really good at making games, and they're not always that well done with knowing how to publish them or how to market them. So that's where Numskull Games comes in, because obviously they're a publisher and a marketer. So they'll kind of work with these devs to make sure that the game gets noticed, Similar to what's happened with Formula Retro Racing by Repixelate. So that's one where they've taken it over. So it's a game that's been out before, but this is the other thing that I really like with this release, and it's got nothing to do with me working for Numskull. I wish more people would do it. Is that this physical release actually has more on it than digital? Yeah,
that's a nice reward, isn't it, for actually plumping
definitely
for the thing? That's really classy move.
You're thinking, why don't more people do that? I genuinely don't understand what's the point of owning a physical if you're not getting anything else on top. So this one comes with like extra vehicles. I think they've added extra tracks and also mirrored the tracks.
Nice.
You get
great idea.
Chunk of extras for putting the money down, which, like I say, I'd love more people to do that with physical, because at the minute physicals are almost pointless, to the point of like, well, they still need the patch. So once the internet, if you haven't got an internet connection, you're playing a lesser version of a game.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah,
patched it, and I don't want to like throw stones, but everyone's seen stories where some of the games are really broken because they need a day one patch.
Yeah, it's a bit. It's a bit. It's a bit disingenuous, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, I mean, also not putting all the game onto cartridges. Again, I'm not naming names; people will know, but not putting full games onto like cartridges that you're then selling, or discs, anything where you haven't got everything. Because that's what I used to like about Xbox 360 Game of the Year editions.
That was the full package, wasn't it?
Everything was there, yeah. So people, some of us, like I was probably one of them as well, where you bought like some of the DLC along the way for certain games. Certain games, and for whatever reason, passed you by. For me, it was one of the games that passed me by was Mortal Kombat. And then you got Game of the Year edition, so you got everything that you'd wanted on the disc.
Yeah.
So going back to Numskull Games, that's something that when they do these physicals, they're trying to give people something a little bit extra on top where they can. But yeah, there are physical is the main thing. So it's mainly keeping the ability for people to get physical copies of games.
Nice. That.
Yeah, I like
so
that.
yeah, they work with a couple of others. Yeah, they work with a couple of others in the States. So they've worked with. I'm not so in touch with Numskull Games as a rule these days, but PM Studios is a big one.
Yeah.
So that's one where they kind of share. So PM Studios will do all the stuff in the US, and then Numskull will do that part in the UK or Europe.
Okay, so that's Numskull Games. Something I wanted to cover off, because during my research for this episode, it was like, hang on a minute, what's this? Had a little click, and I think the first game I landed on was the Formula Retro Racing, but it was and bizarrely that's what you're playing. But I was impressed by what they saw. Do you think there's going to be a future where if you get like a runaway Numskull Games, there'll be some tie-in with some digital or some physical merch? What's the story there? Has that ever happened to this point? Is that something that's going to be a unity of the businesses?
They've done it with, well, I know for a fact they've done a game with Yogscast called Plate Up.
Right.
And there's some merch associated with that. I don't know when the game's due, but I've seen the little figures because they were at WASD. So when I was at WASD...
Is that what we call it in the industry, is it? Because I call it WASD Live, but you're just calling it WASD.
I just call it WASD.
Okay.
Maybe everyone says it different. I don't know. But yeah, WASD don't roll off the tongue to me.
No. WASD didn't roll off my tongue, to be honest. It kind of felt a little bit stingy and sharp, but let's go for it. You're in the know. So that's what we'll... RGT, correct everyone's vocabulary, it's WASD.
It's WASD. Yeah, that's going in the Discord.
Perfect. So at the start of introducing yourself, you mentioned that you look after such things as Quarter Arcades. Now, to anybody not in the know, Quarter Arcades, I'll just do a little bit of an overview of these quarter-sized arcades, hence the name, and they look super cool, totally playable. They've got a ROM perfectly emulated within them. What more can you tell us about those? Because I've got some I'm a very strange cat, so I've got a couple of questions about some of the associated paraphernalia that comes with them. But if you could just give us a rundown of quarter arcades, and then we'll dive in there, and then we'll discuss some of these spin-off collectibles that come with the quarter arcades, if we could, Darren.
Yeah, so you pretty much summed it up pretty well. They're quarter scale of the arcade machines, so everything has been analysed and looked at and made to be exact. So they're not models as such; they're quarter replicas. Pretty much like when you buy these 118 die-cast cars, where they've literally got the steering wheel inside, they've done the dashboard, they've done the pedals, they've got all the little markings on the car are exact. It's the same with these. So if you turn them round, they've got the exact same backs as the arcade. So the little bits at the back where you grab them to transport them round, the grills, everything is in the same place.
That is phenomenal. And may I add as well, made with real wood and obviously as close to the right materials as is required to make these things look right. I mean, absolutely beautiful. The things I wanted to cover off, obviously you can get a mouse mat stroke carpet for your mini arcade, which Darren, this set dressing is absolutely flipping phenomenal, if I might say. You can get a wallpaper, obviously a brick wall that you can stick around a mini set or in your game room, a corner of your game room, which is awesome. And then the sticker sheets, so you can get posters to stick on your wallpaper that sits on top of your mouse mat. I mean, this thing is the gift that keeps on giving. I want to see people's collections of these, but set up as obviously you've probably seen this, probably on a merch stand or maybe back at Numskulls HQ. I imagine that there's probably quarter-size human beings running around making these things look full size. Absolutely wonderful. And may I add an attention to detail that I think a true gamer stroke collector will really appreciate there. Before we get into the quarter arcades, what was the idea behind these sort of accessory packs that really create that whole arcade experience? Did they go hand in hand, or did the accessories come after?
Yeah, the accessories came a long time after. So I joined Numskull about 2021. And they'd had the pandemic, so I joined just after we were all coming back to work after COVID. Yeah. So what had happened was Bubble Bobble had been the last quarter arcade that they'd made. So I joined as because I knew there was a Ninja Turtles quarter arcade coming up. That was pretty much how they hooked me. I was like, yeah, I want to be part of this. I'm a massive Turtles fan and a massive arcade fan. So yeah, you've got me. But yeah, we had a big hiatus between obviously coming back from COVID. There's also all the parts shortages that happened with the electronics industry.
Of course.
PlayStation was a good example of that, where Sony couldn't make enough PS5s because they couldn't get all the parts. And obviously when you're in a pecking order and you've got Sony who can't get what they want, Apple who can't get the one, Samsung who can't get you one, guess what? Numskull come under that, So it took us a long time to kind of get these stuff turned around. So these accessories were basically made. I think we came out just before or around the same time as we launched Space Invaders, because quite a lot of the collectors had everything, in that time. So by that point, I'm just trying to think. I think they've done 6 or 7 cabs by this point. So people, and 8 actually, if you count Polybius, which was the USB hub. So people had these collections, but they had no real way of displaying them other than putting them on a shelf. And at Numskull's headquarters in Jarrow, so we've got two offices. So we've got one in Jarrow, which is northeast. And then Welling, which is the one that I work at. And where the quarter arcades set is, where everything gets filmed for the asset shots and everything that you see on social media, they've got a full-blown set built. So everything, exactly what you've said, everything's quarter scale. They've got quarter scale radiators, air conditioning unit, pipe running along, a fan, trash bins, you name it. They've come up with little gumball machines. So they've got a really good 3D printer, and the artists that work at that place are really talented. And I always like refer to, because we went for a visit, and it's like being in Willy Wonka's like chocolate factory. I only see finished product. I don't usually get to see everything as it's been done. So that when they make the Tubbz, for example, they're 3D printed first, and then a guy hand paints them.
Oh wow!
Cool.
And
Wow.
this guy's got his own workshop, and I swear he's like the guy who does the eyes in Blade Runner. It's like that. Like magnifying glasses, little paintbrushes, little scalpels. Like the
Wow.
detailing is insane. So I got to see that side of things when I went to Jarrett. So I got to see the set as they've made it. So that, as I say, this is what they do: the 3D print things, and then they've got really talented people to make them look like the real thing. Like the bins. Anyone that's been to one of the shows where Numskull's been with the quarter arcades will have seen the radiators and the bins look like they're all scuffed up like a proper one will be.
Yeah,
It's absolutely insane how well the stuff is done. Like I say, I ain't got that kind of artistic talent to do these things, but that's essentially what we're saying. Is like they built this set, so they were like, well, surely everyone else who's got quarter arcades would want something similar.
definitely.
Let's give them a chance. But you want to make it easy-ish. Getting carpet, for example. Carpet's not easy to come by for trying to get offcuts. So that was one thing where the other thing is if you do it, you have to buy it in like our scale, if you like, real scale.
Yeah.
And just cut it. Whereas these have been made in quarter scale, so the pattern's obviously been scaled down to match like the sizes. And the same with the wallpaper.
It's the attention to detail, Aaron, that blew my mind. I mean, as you say, do you think we're going to see more accessories out of that range or not?
We do want to do them. We do want to do some more stuff. There are chairs. So some of the pre-order exclusives for Space Invaders and the Ninja Turtles machines are little stools. So you get quarter arcade stools. And they've got branded. Yeah, they've got the Space Invaders. There's two different ones for each cab. So you've got Space Invaders Part 2. They've got a red and a blue stool with different logos on. And then you've got Ninja Turtles and then Turtles in Time. And they have two different coloured stools with different designs as well. So people have got a chance to get these stools. Eventually, we'll do some plain stools for the people that want them. But we're so flat out at the minute trying to do new cabs because obviously that's the bread and butter. You know, it's the thing that people have actually wanted.
Well, let's get into that then, Darren, if I may. So you've got a wonderful range of cabs out there. You've touched on a few of them. But what is the sort of process of this? Does someone in the office say, hey, do you remember this? Or is it more you're working with key partners to try and eke these cabinets out of them as you go? I mean, what's the process for, first of all, the conception of like, we need this cab in our collection, and then obviously how that then gets pushed through to manufacturing?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. So essentially, the way the quarter arcades came about was one of the guys is a massive, a couple of us are arcade fans, but essentially they decided let's make scale versions of them. They already had a partnership with Bandai Namco, so that made it very easy to kind of get the ball rolling. And then they produce a concept version, so just a hand-built sample basically of what one would look like. Send it over to them in Japan. They're like, oh yes, we like the look of that. Keep going.
Yeah.
And then with Numskull's experience, they've got partners who can bring these things to life. So because they had a pre-existing relationship with Bandai Namco, it made it easy to do Pac-Man as Pac-Man, Galaga Galaxian.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Numskull were already doing licenses with quite a few people. So it made it easier for certain relationships to go because you've already got open comms. So that does make things easy or easier to start the ball rolling because there's a bit of a trust already there before you even start.
There's an association, isn't there?
Yeah, them licenses must be hard, like you say, to obtain if you're not in direct contact with these companies, but having your foot in the door already must have been make it way easier to, pass off the machines you're doing for them to, be happy for you to sell these on.
That's it. And then once you've got some made and they've done well, then you can show other companies, this is the existing product, this is what we want to do. and it makes it a bit easier to then approach people like Atari, Taito, Konami. So that's pretty much where they started, was just getting these, and I think they just went with the heritage, because the ones that started, like I say, Miss Pac-Man, Galaga Galaxian, they're kind of pillars of arcades.
Yeah, for sure.
For certain age ranges. I'm on the cusp of that, where these were games that I saw but didn't play very much, because I'm more of I think really I was more like Outrun, Robocop, Wonder Boy.
Yeah.
They're the games that were in mind. So I used to see Pac-Man and Galaga and Galaxian, but I never really had the same nostalgia. But you're talking only like 4 or 5 years older than me, and then that's where these were a massive hit with people. So that was it. I mean, they did them as I don't think they consulted. I just felt that they thought these are big hits in the arcade. Let's put them out there. And sure enough, yeah, they did the numbers.
Hey, well, they look absolutely fantastic. And I challenge, I'm not going to challenge myself. I'm going to challenge RGT to have a full set by Christmas. I don't know why you're laughing. The full set by Christmas with a mini arcade there that Wayne Ray could use. All set up with the posters, the wallpaper, that brick wallpaper.
Oh, I would love that.
The posters on it. Maybe even, some of these other accessories. Maybe Darren could hook you up with the Mr. 3D printer and you could have the whole thing going on, the gumballs. It just sounds great, Darren, if I may be so bold. An absolute credit to Numskulls, that is, because it's a nice nod to gaming nostalgia, but it also kind of exists outside of gaming. You could be a semi-gaming curious dad who hasn't touched a console in years, and you just see that quarter arcade that kind of hits your special spot, and it's got to be an instant purchase. It's that it kind of sits beyond. Obviously, you've got full nerds like me who have got all the consoles and they're always playing away, but then you have people who sit on the periphery of that, who maybe just want one for their shelf or one to look cool, or they remember that time they had the first Kiss near Space Invaders and they want the arcade cabinet. It's a really cool brand. Talking of other cool things you do, you've obviously mentioned Tubbz, which you are vicariously involved in. But is that a similar process for those? Obviously, you lean on your trusted partners. You come up with. I've obviously got the some of the Yakuza ducks. Is that something that you say to Sega? Look, here's a 3D print of what we think we might want to do for Majima as an example. What do you think? And then they give you the sign off. Obviously, that brand is growing. When we were in Manchester, we saw Lord of the Rings ones. Every single facet of everything you can imagine is represented within Tubbz. Wonderful little. Again, you can just be walking by one of these things and think that looks cool. Comes in the little bathtub. You can't really ask for much more. Is that a brand that has taken you by surprise, do you think, in its popularity?
Yeah, they'd launched. I actually went to its launch before I worked for Numskull. So I got invited as an influencer, using inverted commas for the influencer thing. But
nice.
I went along, and that the first ever range that they were launching was Street Fighter. Street Fighter 2, and then Ghostbusters, I think, wasn't far off.
Nice.
Behind that.
Yeah.
And I think just the fact that they all had their own little, little intricacies, shall we say, where it makes them all very individual. So they have kind of mini, like I say, the attention to detail, and everything's been thought about. I think that's one of the main things, is when fans can appreciate there's little nods in there.
That's the thing. I mean, ultimately, we're talking about a rubber duck here. But the fact that each one is distinguishable from the next, and the attention to detail on like the Last of Us range or whatever it is, that that a fan of that will gravitate towards it, and instantly, you might not like any of the other ones in the range, but if you've got like an affection for that brand or that game, you look at it closely and you're like, actually, this is really cool because it's ticking all the boxes. Is there anything that you think that Tubbz won't ever touch? Is there a brand that's off limits? Is there something that's never going to work for Tubbz?
I don't think there is. Yeah, I don't think there is at the minute. I think the fans seem to really love them. which is for some, which is what you need. You need people to actually be buying these before you can make more of them. I think the other thing is in my time with Numskull, they've just got better and better as they've gone along. So I think they've become more skilled in delivering even better products. I mean, you were saying that you've got Majima, like that one, the detailing on that jacket, for example, is just mind blowing to like the level of detail to what they've gone to. One of my favorite ones was I sent a set of the TMNT Tubbz to an influencer. And he was well into it. It was originally going to be one, and then the person who sent him sent all four. So,
oh wow!
Like, fair enough. Yeah, it's just like enjoy. But then I was messaging him and I said, "Oh, have you looked at Donatello's turtle com?" He's like, "No." I was like, "Look in his hand," and then 5 minutes or so go past because we're both on DMs. He's in the US and I'm probably in Morrison's or something trying to shop.
How our lives differ.
Yeah, it's just how life is. But then he came back to me and basically in Donatello's hand, and you're talking, this is the size of about the size of a 5p piece, that sort of size in his hand. And the turtle com has got a duck version of April O'Neil on as an image on the turtle com.
Oh wow.
No way.
Right, that thing's probably like 3 or 4 mil square, like the actual picture, but it's that level of detail, and it's just like little nods like that where it's like you don't have to do that, but it's like when you do as a fan, you're like someone's bothered enough to do some research and put these things on. And that happens with a few, like as I say, in the time I've been there, they seem to be getting better and better because I think they've just got so good at doing stuff that they just add all these little flourishes.
I guess as the brand or the range has developed, they've been able to engage with what people like and what they don't like, and they've probably been a bit more, daring is the one word, but maybe slightly more indulgent of what these things should represent. And that April O'Neil throwaway there is something that probably 90% of people would miss. But I encourage, as collectors, we kind of want to leave everything in its wrapping and not touch it and all that sort of stuff. But I implore people the wrappings kind of can come on and off. So please, get these things out and have a play with them, because it's quite surprising what you find in these things. And I think that's a solid point. I want to, if I may, while we're kind of in that sort of collectible range, I have a couple of statues. I think I talked to you to OLL about one of them, the Yakuza statue that I am now in possession of, and is absolutely wonderful. What's the construction phase for the build-up phase for one of those? Because again, you talk attention to detail on a Tubbz duck, and that's one thing. But I've got the Shenmue one as well, and the fact that the beer has got what looks like liquid coming out of it on a collapsed table in the bar from an iconic scene is, if anyone's listening now and they're into Shenmue, you cannot live without the Ryo Azuki statue. And the same really for the Yakuza one. These things are absolutely peerless, may I say. No one else is doing them, but more than that, the attention to detail is something else. Obviously, you're tied to the Sega arm, so I presume you've had a quite a close hand on these things' creation.
Yeah, so I only get to see, like I still see boards. We use Monday, so I can see development boards and some bits and pieces. But most of the time, these ones were so far, so they arrived when I joined. So if you think like this development takes about a year, they'd already been past. They've done everything already. So it's just really, as I say, talented people, talented artists that pay attention to things and put these, like I say, the liquid on the board for me is like such a nice touch that, again, if it wasn't there, you won't miss it. But the fact it's there is just such a nice touch.
It just elevates the whole piece.
It does, yeah. It just gives it some. And also, did you notice they've got Heartbeats coasters?
Yes. I want to go grab it, but to be honest, I think that's a bit nerdy for an audio show. But just so I could touch on every single, little detail, the bike that Kiryu's holding,
the spokes in that. I was like,
unbelievable. And I took mine out of the box and I put the box in the loft somewhere. And it was only the other day I noticed he had like a little poly bag under his arm from the packing that I'd not even removed. I was like busy gawping at the floor and at the bike. I left a piece of wrapping under his arm. I think it was like a sleeve for one of the handlebars. And I was like, oh God, how embarrassing. So I pulled that off for our gwibble. But yeah, these things are an absolute testament to you. Is there anything, digging for an exclusive here, is there anything else from that sort of genre that's going to be making its way from the Sega franchises, or what? Because I know we've got the Sonic one, haven't we, which is more of a diorama. But is there anything else?
It's always difficult with licensors and stuff like this. So there's been concepts. I can't say too much on them because they might never come to light. But stuff does get made. Basically, we'll design it in CAD a lot of the time, and then it'll probably get 3D printed and hand painted. That's the next step for it.
Oh, wow!
Yeah, this is where some stuff has never actually been released. But if you go to Jarrow, they've still got these hand painted samples of things that never happened.
Do you know, I'm thinking now, what would I like to see? And would I like to see like a similar scale Crazy Taxi with the driver in it? Yes, I would.
Yeah, it's just things like this where, you know, as a Sega fan, you're like, could we do this? Could we do this? Could we do this? And it's a case of putting that to the licensor, getting a green light, 3D printing it, hand painting, and then sending it to them. And then they go either change this, or gets green lighted.
Wow.
But then it goes through costings as well. So that also affects things. So the way that Numskull tried to do it, we try and make these statues affordable. So we try to keep them in a range, in a price point that doesn't exclude people. Because obviously everyone knows, you know, if you go into Forgotten Worlds or wherever and you look at statues of Batman, Superman, whatever, what have you, you're talking 300 quid, 400 quid and upwards.
Yeah.
And we don't want to be that, you know. We were trying to give things that are accessible. So that affects materials and things like that. So that also is part of the reason why we can't go into too much detail with statues sometimes. So, you know, people have sometimes criticized like the detailing of faces and stuff like that. And we're open to that. You know, I don't mind feedback, but that's because people don't always realize that in order to get more detail on it, we'd have had to charge you another 40, 50 quid because someone's got to you know, in production, that's something that the machines can't do. We have to pay someone to hand paint them, to finish them, which is when you pay 300, 400, 500 quid, that's what you're paying for. You're paying for someone.
To be honest, as you say, though, they kind of hit that ground where when they're on display on a shelf, they look great. And even like close up, you know, you've really got to be splitting hairs. You kind of know that it's a mass produced thing. So you kind of got to forgive a little bit. You know, my Ryo Azuki, when you get like bang close up to him, an inch from your face, like, but up on a shelf, it's flawless. It looks great. And let's face it, they're shelf pieces. They're not action figures. And when you pull them down and you see the attention to detail on everything else, if you're a lover of that game, really you can have no quibble. As you say, the entrance price isn't 300 or 400 quid, and often I don't know whether they hit sales on the Numskull website, but obviously on the Sega shop, these things can get quite heavily discounted, and then you really are getting a treat.
Yeah, but yeah, going back to the original point of how we come about, that's what it is. Basically, we concept it, we proof it, we give it to licensors. As I say, some stuff just doesn't happen for one reason or another. Either the cost goes up, we just decide that it's just not the right time to do something, because you've also got seasonality in there, you know. So it's, of course, you know, we're not going to make something that's going to have to launch in a time where we can't sell lots of it, you know,
like a random April.
That's it. You know, most stuff isn't going to do that well around late spring into the summer. You know, it's just when people are actually outdoors doing stuff. And obviously everyone knows, you know, you want some of the main products need to be available at Christmas time because that's where everyone's gifting. So there's a lot of factors that play into that, and there's also cost of licenses and stuff like that as well, where if we get asked, you know, if the price of doing something just exceeds what we're capable of doing, we can't make it. It's as simple as that. And that tends to happen sometimes with certain products where the cost, the financials just don't work to bring it to light, which is a shame, because some of the stuff is, fans will love it, but we just can't do it.
I think at the end of the day, if fans can appreciate that you guys need to be around for the long haul, and that does involve a dirty word called profit, but ultimately, as things go along, more doors open. So I think it's just bearing in mind for people that, patience is the key with these things. I would have given my right arm for a statue of Kiryu 5 years ago. Only now is it something that is a reality. I think you've just got to wait and bide your time and wait for these things to sort of hit the ground. And obviously there's a lot of development, as you say. For every 4 you prop up, maybe one gets accepted. So then you've obviously got natural wastage as well. I'm a little bit jealous of these guys in Jarrow that have got all the cool prototype gaming bits that we'll never see.
It's insane. I visited, I'm thinking now, it's over a year ago, and I can't even say anything right now because it's this month, we're going to launch that product that I saw almost a year and a bit ago, which is a video game franchise. That's as much as I can say on it. Well, yeah, that's going to happen this month. But I saw it so long ago, and I was like, "These are cool." I've got photos of it, and I was just like, "Oh, this is amazing." But I've also got photos of ones that were made and never happened. And it's such a shame that for one reason or another they just can't make them work. Whether it's I don't know what it is that stopped them coming out. Whether it's a license or we just moved on to other things, but as I say, various factors affect product development. And that wouldn't just go for us. That probably goes for a lot of places where things either miss the timing windows, where, I don't know, if you've got a movie coming out and you haven't got the merch ready in time for the movie, that's probably it. If it's not an IP that's well known, or it's just a single movie, it's going to be a lot harder to do anything if you've missed the window. So it falls into that as well. Obviously, if we've got gaming anniversaries and stuff like that coming up, it makes it easier to get new merch out. So, good example being Ghostbusters next year is doing its 40th.
Yeah,
40 years of Ghostbusters. Well, we as Numskull, we've got Ghostbusters license, so some stuff's going to obviously be reintroduced. If it's lines that we haven't got much stock of, we'll go back into production on it. There's one of the things that they have is the Ghostbusters light, which I've got, and it's like, that was one of my favorite things. I had that before I joined the company, and it looks like something that you'd have on the movie site, like the sign from outside the firehouse. Looks like that. So that's been a great seller. So again, things like that are evergreen products, basically, that we can bring out, that's fine. But yeah, other stuff, if it's to do with, like I say, a single movie that's coming out and we haven't got stuff ready in time, we just don't go forward.
Wow. And looking through the list of companies that you've kind of got open relationships with, we've got Disney and everything that's covered off within that, including Star Wars and all the good stuff that they now own. Capcom, obviously Marvel wrapped up with Disney. Sega, which you've mentioned. Sony, there's a load of PlayStation stuff on there. 2K Games, Bethesda, call it what you want. You say tomato, I say tomato. Bandai Namco, which you've mentioned. Bungie, which we've yet to touch on. EA and obviously Warner Brothers. Within that massive hall of mega entertainment brands, each one has got subsections within it. There's so much for you guys to work at. I mean, you must feel overwhelmed at times with such, obviously, all the fans that preach or pray to those religions, for want of a better word. They're all eager for that next piece of holy communion that you're going to put out. How do you kind of measure which one gets the most attention? Do your gaming brands get more attention than your movie brands, or do your sports brands? Which one is the leader for Numskulls?
Yeah, I don't make the decisions on what gets made, what doesn't. That's like production level between the management and production. But obviously, yeah, it's going to favour what is going to sell the most, hence what is going to be the most profitable. What can we do that's going to make this? Destiny for us is a really good brand, so massively popular. Obviously, been in the news for various reasons this week.
One thing you can't deny, though, Darren, is they're super loyal fans. You know,
unreal. Like
the people that have stuck with Destiny, they love it, and I'm sure they probably got an open running tab on your store.
It's so, one of my favorite things is just launching new product with Destiny, just because seeing the fan reaction to it is insane. Like you say,
Nice.
It's one of those where the reactions are always positive. You know, people just like, oh my God. And again, we make these things affordable. And I think that's one of the key points, is that if we double the price of some of this stuff, it'd still sell. The people that would part with that kind of money.
Yeah.
For what we do, but we don't, you know, we try and keep these things like realistic, if you like. And I'll be honest, I wish I was into the game as much, because there's so much cool merch for that. Whereas I'm more of a Sega. I wish we had the same Sega stuff as what we do in Destiny, if that makes sense. So they've got like miniature helmets, like the weapons get made, and like like all the key characters have really cool statues, because luckily for them as well, they're so close with the Bungie team, that the guys who design the statues get really good access to the design elements. And obviously the thing is, with games these days, they're all designed in a 3D environment anyway, so it's not the same as you know, back in the day where we had 2D Sonic. There wasn't a 3D Sonic, so you have to figure out how does Sonic look if he's rotated 360 degrees.
Yeah,
you know,
pretty awful at times. I saw some footage of Mario Wonder, how the face has been sort of tweaked 45 degrees to make it more, you know, as you're running left to right on the screen, you want to be able to see Mario's face and his emotions. But actually, if you skewed that figure into 3D, it would look like an absolute mess. He would look like John Merrick. And that's not a Mario elephant joke. That's the fact that this thing looks hideous. So as you say, taking something that's only ever existed in 2D on a screen without those design elements and then bringing it forward and putting it into 3D can be a headache.
Yeah, so Bungie's obviously a really popular one for that reason, that because they've got the Bungie Cinematics team, they basically work with designers so close that everything gets absolutely nailed so well. And again, the level of detail, it's another one where they're putting these flourishes on it and stuff like that. And because I get to the artist and designer notes, it gets, honestly, the level of detail and tinkering to get these things spot on is crazy. So yeah, I'd love, you know, I really wish from a Sega fan perspective, we had as much merch for Sega as we did for like Destiny. But yeah, I don't get to make the decisions on what we do. In that sense, I basically get told what's coming, quite often, quite far. I see it at various stages. I can go digging for the stuff that isn't going to be on my radar for a little while, but then I tend to get things, give or take 4 to 6 months out. I can see stuff and then start lining it up to start marketing it.
Okay. Well, couple of last questions for you. Obviously, you've got your whole peripherals range. You do accessories. What made that decision proliferate through to your minds? Obviously, you've got a great name, and then, if I may be so bold, it can be a bit risky attaching that to a peripheral because that's someone's sort of first-hand engagement with the product. You've done it remarkably well. There's a full range on your website for most brands. What made you decide to dip your toe as a brand into that market?
I think that comes partly from the history of Numskull. So the guys that basically created it had previously worked for Game.
Yeah.
So I think that was some of it, where it's like, do what you know first. So when they first started out, one of the first products was like key rings.
I was going to say, if you say characteristics joysticks now, I'm done. I'll resign.
They've made a PlayStation 4 business card holder. Now, I only found this out recently because I actually owned one. Right, so the only reason I owned one was for doing things on my Instagram with. So it's just quite like anything with scale, like with like tiny little things, always seems to get, or did at the time, got really good engagement on Instagram.
Yeah.
Because people just love like tiny things. I've got like tiny Mega Drives and stuff like that, and they always did well. So I bought it for that reason. I only found out about a year ago that that was Numskull's first ever product.
Really?
By sheer coincidence, I own that.
Well, that's something to go in the museum, isn't it, Darren? That's wonderful.
Yeah. So I think they started with what they knew, which was why they went down the like peripherals route, was because they'd obviously seen from like being like working at game how well these things do or how it's produced, and then slowly adding people to the team to grow the offerings, if you like. I think it's one of the ranges that people seem to really like enjoy, just because again, if you've got a favorite IP, it's always nice to have something that you can look at with that IP. So I'm the same with I'm always surrounded by various like brands and logos and stuff like that. So I think it's nice if you're like I don't know, if you're an Xbox fan, for example, and you want a locker that's got the logo on it rather than just something that's like plain.
Yeah. I think sort of brand recognition and sort of association is at an all-time high. I mean, you're talking to a guy that will go out in an MLB, the video game hat. You're talking to a guy that's got a plethora of gaming T-shirts. I want to surround myself with Ryu and Kiryu. I want to have all my sort of games on display as a substitute for my gaming knowledge and skill. I mean, I have to be okay at these things because look at this 6-foot stack of PS2 filler. I must be something. And I think it's really wonderful, and I really feel like it's hit that peak people associate with a movie, a brand, a game, a gaming company, and it allows you to have, I don't know, the Capcom Pin Kingz pin. It allows you to have another range of yours, all that sort of. You could be dripping in this stuff, but you can also do it in a way that's kind of subtle, and the subtle ways always kind of intrigue me more. Like, oh, what's that? It's a business card holder. Oh, it's a PlayStation one. That's well cool. I don't know if I'm like a weird nerd or whether the mainstream finds satisfaction in that too. I can imagine, your casual FIFA players still going to look at a PlayStation business card holder and nod and go like, you know what? You've got it.
Yeah.
You've got it
definitely
going on. With all that sort of covered off, obviously, I'm not asking you to commit any secrets and whether this is something that's on the drawing board behind the stage or whatever it is. But if you could imagine your ultimate dream piece of gaming memorabilia or merchandise, Darren, what would be on your your list, your number one dream? If they said to you in a board meeting tomorrow, Darren, guess what? We're making X, and you could jump up and punch the air with a big woo-hoo, what would that be?
Oh, that is a banging question. Where could I go from there? I mean, I'll tell you one thing that I did pitch to Sega that I had seen was, the Sonic F1 trophy that Ayrton Senna's holding.
Don't you even dare, because that whole season, the Donington branding, especially at that European Grand Prix in '93, when they had the cutaway on the cars of Sonic's legs with the. To me, that was like a coming of age moment for gaming in general, and for me as a person. And watching that on an Easter weekend while stuffing my full of chocolate on my granddad's living room floor, it just felt really cool to do that. Oh, you little.
Yeah, so that statue, I don't know if you saw on Twitter, not long back, McLaren found it.
They dug it out the banks, didn't they? Yeah, I did see that.
So it made a couple of headlines because they were like, "Look what we found," and you're like, you realise what you've. I don't think they realised what they had at the time, and then.
I mean, look what we found, guys. Why was this ever not known?
Yeah. And it's forever associated with one of the greatest laps ever of F1.
The greatest opening lap ever.
I don't think anyone could ever do in that type of car that, well, sadly, obviously he did, but like the cars that you could would literally death traps, and he drove like that in the rain. So it's always associated with one of the best laps probably that we'll ever see. And obviously the great man himself won it.
So
it's, I mean,
and what I find kind of ironic about that is up until the point that it kind of felt like Sega had got in bed with the enemy in a way, because up until that point, Senna had been a very loyal, because of his Brazilian background and Sega's history in Brazil, he'd been very loyal supporter. He'd helped them with the game with his name on it. He'd always play Mega Drive, Brazil, Sega, and Mega Drive are kind of like the perfect bed partners. Even to this day, they're still bringing out games to the Mega Drive. That's how insanely popular it was there. And he then rocks up to the European Grand Prix to see Sega sponsoring his arch nemesis and the Williams car at the time, which was a technological marvel. He then gets in his car, goes out, does the best lap in Formula One history. He wins and then holds a Sonic trophy above his head. I mean, that to me was like, the story behind that trophy is magic.
Yeah.
Really is.
So I basically, in a nutshell, someone had made a 3D print of it. So I found it as a...
I'm dribbling in all the wrong places to be all right places. Now you're looking right now. I'm literally wet.
I bought the 3D file, spent a little bit of time with that without doing anything on it, because I don't know, I just got busy, forgot whatever it was. I then went to someone who has a 3D printer, who knows what's what, and I said, what do you think about doing this? So he actually helped me make it. So he basically... I had to convert the 3D file. I know nothing about 3D printing at all. Like zero.
Me and you both.
So I sent him it and he was like, oh, it's in the wrong format. And I was like, oh, I had to do a bit of Googling and eventually managed to get it. Anyway, long story short, got printed, got sent to me. And then I sent it to Rob, who is known as Raw Talent Art. If you ever check him out on Instagram,
we've had him on as a guest on the show. Would you believe? Look at this cross.
Yeah, you've probably seen him at OLL. To be fair, with all these amazing consoles. So yeah, Rob's actually currently got it, and he's painted it for me.
Oh God, don't honestly.
Yeah. So I've just got to pick it up. But the going back to where we were going with this, I pitched that idea to the person who pitches the ideas to Sega that come from Numskull.
Yeah.
Can we do this trophy? Because Sonic the Hedgehog, easy. You know, we've got license to do stuff with Sonic. It's got the Sega logo on the trophy. Straightforward, right?
You'd think.
Got turned down.
Oh.
I
mean, up until the point you said it got turned down, I was shaking basically from a neck down, like someone who'd gone 10 rounds with Angela White.
Honestly, I wanted this so much because it's one thing to 3D print it, but there's another to factory produce it, where these things are amazing, you know, because obviously it's done by a professional factory. So I wanted like a be all and end all, one that fans would like really love. You know, something, I don't know, 12 inches or something like that, so it's sit on a shelf really nice.
Yeah.
Hey. I didn't even go there with a foot long.
If you presented me with that, I'd make it disappear instantaneously, and I tell you that now. I mean, the idea of this, Darren, it literally, the fact that it met with a no.
Oh, it broke my heart. I thought it was going to be I thought it's only got Sonic and the Sega logo, so it's not like it's something that can get shut down. But I mean, I'll say one thing where we've tried to do stuff with Virtua, like so Virtua Fighter, Virtua Racing, Virtua Tennis. None of it is available to us. You know, we just got told that's a no-go, which was such a shame because again, you know, there's fond memories. If you said like what other statue would you want? I would want that image of the 3 Virtua cars off the cover as a diorama.
Oh, it'd be brilliant.
You know, or even just a fight scene with like some of the Virtua characters.
I am this latter part of this conversation with you has got me sort of broken, really. It's like in one hand, like what could have been, and then in the next hand, almost the same disappointment as one gets, or sadness one gets at finding out the passing of a grandparent. And the fact that this, I'm a strange cat. The fact that this Sega
I think Darren knows that by now.
Kind of exists really only within your own pantheon. I mean, unbelievable. And fair play to you for doing the 3D print. Absolutely a a dream. You own this now, seemingly, this 3D print.
Yeah,
it's coming
I've just
home.
got to arrange. I've just got to arrange with Rob to pick it up, because I'm moving house. I just didn't want to have it shipped here and then have to ship it to the other house. And just said to Rob, just hang on to it for a bit. And
is the wife okay with just painting a room completely white and then having a white plinth with that trophy on it and nothing else in the room?
Nothing else in the room.
Yeah.
Just the red lasers.
Like the Tate Gallery.
We've crawled up somewhere on the world. We've got a 3-bed. I say a 2-bed. Well, by the time I got the game room, we got 1 bed. Darren, absolutely incredible. I feel like we've been on quite the journey. Hopefully, we've been able to give you and Numskulls some great sort of platform here with us. I've really enjoyed.
Yeah, superb.
Sort of the inner workings. And to be honest, I could have deep dived on any one of the brands that you look after and still probably in 2 days' time be talking about what it takes to get a set of PlayStation socks created. That's the level that you guys go to, and everything you cover is represented so well. And I've bought Numskulls bits and bobs along the way and always been very happy with the product. So very honoured to meet you at OLL and then finally to have you on the show. It's been wonderful, and thank you so much for being a good egg. Before we let you go, though, there's a gentleman we'd like you to meet. Now, normally, Darren, he's associated with knockoffs, third-rate stuff. He's the sort of guy that would do a very bad copy of a Kiryu statue and pass it off, depending on who was asking him, as either Ryu or Kiryu. Can it be what you want it to be? He's the guy that sold us our videos as a kid. They were normally cam copies. It was very bad, and he's a bit of a rogue, if I'm honest. So I don't know how you're going to get on with him. But it's time for a peek in what we affectionately call Stingray's boot, what's nestled between some counterfeit nappies and a dodgy copy of Battlefriend All this week. These are the new release highlights for the week November 5th to November 12th, 2023. Listeners, these are out in digital, physical, will be by the time. Oh my God, I'm that excited.
Teeth in.
Darren, this only happens probably once a month these days, where I trip over the intro to Stingray. Can you forgive me?
Yeah, forgiven.
I thought it was going to be a no then. I felt my heart drop on the chest.
Say no. Say no.
Just put a dramatic pause.
Especially when you consider what I did to a guy in Wrestling Empire. I put him in a wheelchair and basically slapped him. It's time for a podcast in your feed, but could be region dependent. We'll finish it there. He's here. Sting stopped rattle roll. Now, I did expect to see Sting this week as a piece of knockoff gaming tap, but because it's November the 5th, he actually stepped out the car and immediately shot, probably 60 foot in the air. It said on the side that it was Hiroshima firework. It went off because it was a knockoff with a damp sort of pluff of a cloud. I looked down at the floor and there's what looks like a birthday candle, but it's actually a very small Roman candle. And it's pittering itself out rather pathetically in front of me right now. That's his son, Wayne. Darren, I shudder to think how you're seeing Stingray. How are you seeing Sting and maybe his son, Wayne?
I reckon it's got kind of Del Boyish out there.
That's
very,
very much so. So that's how you're seeing him, like a little version of David Jason.
Yeah, but even that, the Wish.com version.
Oh, good gracious me! Is his head even attached? Right, okay.
Rodney.
And Wayne's like a 3-inch high version of Rodney.
But you've got to have the East End accent as well, haven't you? It's all about the accent.
Oh wow!
Cockney market trader.
It's a knockoff version though, so he's actually Polish.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, there we go. RGT, how are you seeing Sting and Ray this week?
As always, he's on point, but he's like 007 this week. He looks like a cross between himself and Roger Moore. So his hair at the front is sort of slicked back in a sort of auburn colour, but it's long at the back into that mullet. And then Wayne is like an even smaller odd job with a little, but his hat's too big, so it's just covering his nose. So
wow, his hat's down over his nose.
Yes, yeah. So the hat don't quite fit, but they're trying to be on point.
Fair play to them. They've come prepared, and you can't argue with that. I don't know how I'm seeing him now, because obviously he's exploded. And now he's just like a strange sort of Trumpy, smelly cloud that's floating around. I don't really know what's going on here. But first out of this boot of his fine Nissan Bluebird is Football Manager 2024, coming to PC, PS5 and Xbox Series X. Even the touch version is going to grace the Switch on November the 6th. Progress never stops when you're pursuing football and greatness. New tools empower you to develop a blueprint for success in the most complete edition to date. Nice.
Next up, we have The Invincible. PC, PS5, Xbox Series of Consoles, November the 6th. Rethink Humans' Dominion in Invincible, a story-driven adventure set in a hard sci-fi world by Stanislaw Lem. Discover planet Regis 3, a scientist, Yasna, use atompunk tools, looking for a missing crew and face unforeseen threats. Make choices in a psychological story that is driven by science.
Wow. What have you got in there, Darren?
I've got Spellforce, Conquest of AO. That's how I'm reading it.
That's what it needs to be. If they haven't done that, they're missing out.
That is now.
And it's on a journey to great magical might, explore and control the lands of AO in this ever-changing turn-based strategy role-playing game. Field armies and heroes in tactical combat, finish hundreds of quests, and gather spells and artifacts to become the most powerful mage of all.
Oh, right, okay. I'm going to dig in.
Out November 7th.
Wow. RGT, that needs to be a hidden gem for you.
And Xbox Series X. So it looks like it's just one for the moderns.
One for the bigger boys. I've pulled out Beyond Sunset on the PC November 8th. It's a cyberpunk first-person shooter with a rich story and RPG elements. You are Lucy, an enhanced street samurai searching for lost memories, fighting large open interactive levels overtaken by, of all things, these things are great bedfellows. Yakuza, zombies, robots, and bosses.
Wow. Next up, we have Risk of Rain returns, PC and Switch, November 8th. Carefully designed, beautifully remastered, and loaded with new ways to play, Risk of Rain is back and better than ever. Dive into the iconic roguelike, full of unique loot combinations, enhanced with new survivors, overhauled multiplayer, fan favourite content from Risk of Rain 2 and more.
Oh, on this we've got 9 Years of Shadows for the Switch, which is out November 9th. Fight to bring beautiful colours back to a handcrafted world of darkness and discover the story of Europa, a young warrior, and her ghostly childhood companion, Apino.
Nice. Okay. I've pulled out Cuisineer on the PC November 9th. Sometimes these blurbs. A super cute and tasty roguelike flavoured dungeon crawler. Explore a lush world and defeat monsters with a trusty spatula and some boba tea. Then gather delicious ingredients and bring them home to cook and serve at your restaurant.
Wow.
That was a mouthful, but so was that boba tea.
Next up, we have Demio Battles PC, November 9th. Demio Battles is a competitive PvP turn-based strategy game. Choose your champion, assemble an army of monstrous minions, and team up with fellow champions in your quest for turn-based glory.
One thing I would say is the Sega gods have shined righteously on you, because through no skill or execution putting this together at all, it transpires. What's this, Darren? What have you got?
So I've managed to pull out Like a Dragon Gaiden, the man who erased his name. So one of the big boys. So PC, definitely. PS5, Xbox Series X, PS4, and the other Xbox, whatever you want to call it, Xbox One, is it?
Expo.
Yeah,
Expo on this one. Once a legendary Yakuza, Kazuma Kiryu faked his own death and abandoned his name for the sake of protecting his family. Now he's thrust into conflict by a mysterious figure attempting to drive him out of hiding. Under the codename Joryu, Kiryu embarks on a gripping action narrative with bone-shattering combat in vibrant locations filled with exciting characters and activities.
Now, I don't want to rock the boat here, gentlemen, but you know my association with this franchise. This is a mummy. Darren, is this your mummy, or are you looking to take quiz in here?
Yeah, I haven't played the Yakuza games. Just ones that I've never got involved with them just because I don't know. Don't know if
this is the moment where you lie. It's your favourite gaming franchise.
Yeah, I'm a big Shenmue fan. I love Shenmue, but just never picked up on. I don't know why.
Well, let me tell you, I stumbled upon Yakuza as we know it here, and I immediately felt similarities with Shenmue. In fact, the director or one of the producers of Shenmue is the person that literally started the whole Yakuza franchise, Ryogo Kudo Studio. I probably said that wrong, but people know what I'm on about. And when I was researching, I think for an episode about Shenmue that we did, it transpired that these games are inextricably linked and they are kind of symbiotic with each other. And if you've played that and enjoyed it, I recommend just give Zero a try. And if you want to experience, Roast Space Monk was a massive Shenmue fan in our Discord. And then when he stumbled on to the legacy of Yakuza, he's now, I don't know what the equivalent is for 1000 G'd every single one on Xbox, and he can't put them down. And I'd say if you even got a slight bit of nostalgia, once you're all settled in your new gaming room next door to your trophy display room for the iconic 93 European Grand Prix Sonic trophy, it would be one that I would say is worth a try if you have any nostalgia for that iconic Shenmue brand.
Cool.
Let me stick a badge on you. It's your mummy, whether you like it or not. Ultimately, I might even jump into bed with this. It's Wild Shade Unicorn Chronicles, or Champions, actually, on the PS5, Xbox Series X, PS4, Xbox One, and Switch. Comes out November the 9th. Cross the finishing line riding a unicorn. Wild Shade Unicorn Champions is a racing game for the whole family in which you are transported to a magical and colourful world. Win all the tournaments to unlock the rarest mounts. This is a bit edgy, if I'm being honest. Breed them to create the champion of your dreams and become the best horse rider in the fantasy world of Wild Shade.
Wow, okay.
Actually, this next one might be a sleeper.
This is my mummy.
Look at you. Yeah. Recognition. Okay,
yeah, this is my mummy. Air Twister, PC, PS5, Xbox Series X, PS4, and the Xbone, and also Switch. Great for on the go, this one, I think.
Great game to take on the go, that RGT.
Definitely. November 10th, take flight with Air Twister, the new all-out rail shooter by legendary arcade developer Yo Suzuki. Similar to Suzuki's massively successful Space Harrier series, you will encounter a large array of diverse and creatively designed enemies and challenging bosses. I'm all over that. Yep, that's mine.
Keep it. Darren, what's this beast of a thing you're pulling out here?
I've got this little title called Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3.
No one will like that.
I'll never say
Sounds like it could be all right. PC, PS5, Xbox Series X, PS4, and Xbox One. For the first time in back-to-back years, Call of Duty returns with a direct sequel as Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 picks up immediately following the events of last year's incredible blockbuster, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. This all-new experience is scheduled to be released worldwide on Friday, November the 10th, allowing players for the first time to continue their journey, progression, and story seamlessly for a new year to come.
Nice feature, that, considering that's been a bit buried in there. Hopefully that kind of ties together. That'll be interesting. The day before on PC, November the 10th, the day before offers players a uniquely reimagined journey into a post-apocalyptic open world MMO survival set in the present day on the US East Coast following a deadly pandemic. That felt like word spaghetti to begin with, but it came out in a sentence eventually. I'm talking to an evaporated cloud of gone-off gunpowder from probably the 1880s in this dodgy firework that was Ray. But before we let him evaporate further, we must pick a retro movie that appeals to us. RGT, would you like to tell me what VHS you're taking home?
I'm going to go down the James Bond theme again, I think, and one I haven't seen for years. I think I'm going to go with Moonraker on VHS. I think
Moonraker. Well, I'm going to grab myself a copy of Who Framed Roger Rabbit straight out of Sting's sweaty paw, Darren, what are you taking out the boot?
I'm taking RoboCop, but it's the RoboCop taped off TV, where the swear words have been swapped out for amazing gems, such as one time I even called him Airhead.
I used to love the dubbing on there.
That is possibly the best retro VHS I've ever seen pull out the boot, and the fact that Ray's supplied it to you is literally iconic.
Superb.
Now, Ray arrives with less ceremony when he leaves, and I turn around and there's nothing but what looks like a bit of an old bent sparkler on the floor, the sort of thing that haunts your garden for the next sort of 12 months until you can be bothered to pick it up, or the mower obliterates its blade all over it, and you rue the day that you ever had fireworks in your back garden. He's gone, VHS in my hand. I've got a copy of Yakuza or Like a Dragon under my arm. You guys are similarly well endowed. And you've also got games under your arm, which is a bonus. Those that know the spirit of the show know that we can't finish until I ask you, gentlemen, what you're hoping to play. Darren, what's going to be on your gaming horizon? Well, I'm going to open the pantheon up a little bit and say whatever for you, because it might be some time before you grace us back on the airwaves.
Yeah, once I've moved, I actually plan on finishing Resident Evil 2 Remake on PS4, because I haven't, and it's going to bug me until I do it. So that's my kind of scratch my itch, if you like.
I like it. Are you the sort of guy that can pick up a save game from like 6 months ago and just intrinsically carry on? Because I find myself like someone who's waking from amnesia when I pick up an old save.
Yeah, I struggle, but it doesn't take too long, but it isn't natural, is it?
No, who am I? What's this? Where am I? Why would I only save with 1% health? What the hell was I doing? That's a question.
It's where I've got to think back to myself. Like, it's the combo, isn't it? You get so good at being quick on the buttons to switch between menus and weapons and what have you.
Yeah.
And then if you haven't touched it for a while, that goes out the window, and then that makes you not want to pick it up anymore because you keep it's too difficult to do.
I've recently played through Resident Evil 0 on the Switch, the HD remasters, and probably got over 50% of the way through with the original Resident Evil before I took a break and had to go on some other games. I'm kind of like, as you say, bobbing myself, picking that rather brutal title up and just randomly in a save room, rocking up with some weed and a couple of ink rails and wondering what the hell's going on. But yeah, good pick. Anything else, or is that your dream?
Yes, it's mainly to finish that, and then I really want to get through Day of the Tentacle, because I've never finished that game either.
That's a nice choice. Classy, much like yourself, Darren. RGT, what's your what you're hoping to play?
Well, that'll be Vice City live stream again on Tuesday. That's over on my YouTube channel. So jump on there. It's getting a good little group of people coming along and chatting away.
Ever the self-promotionalist.
Yep. And it will be terrible gaming again. So it's obviously quite embarrassing to see how terrible I actually are at games.
That's why we podcast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there'll be more of that. Spider-Man, definitely. This week should be a bit easier than last week work-wise. So I should be turning down a bit, give me a bit more gaming time. So I'm looking forward to start swinging through New York again, because that game I'm absolutely loving. And the weirdness of Raincode, Masters Detective Archives, I should be delving back into that labyrinth of...
Your wife probably sat there thinking, you've spent 30 minutes looking at that woman's digital bosom, but you've not even glanced at mine.
Well, I mean, I'll try it when I get home and see if that works the same with Donna, but we'll just see what happens. But there we go. And then...
I'm sorry, Donna. I'm sorry, Mrs. RG. I'm so sorry,
You led me up
Donna.
that path. Yeah, so that's probably pretty much where that'll be this week. Those three are going to be my main games, I think. What about you, George?
I'm going to, obviously, I really hope to get some time to finish Spider-Man 2. I thoroughly enjoyed everything it's got to offer. I think I see myself doing the main story in the collectibles and then probably cursing the very air I breathe while trying to do a financial district to a storeroom with web wings. I'm so hooked into the way that game plays, having been a big fan of Spider-Man Miles Morales, that I find it really hard not to do the web zip, the X. I just want to go a bit faster, and I find myself, no, not allowed here.
It's too tempting, isn't
it? It is. A bit of Anno. The Switch is busting at the gills. There's some absolutely banging games in the sale on the eShop right now. So I encourage everyone to get in there and have a little sniff around. There's lots of nice, fun games for this time of year, cozy games, part builders and Bomber Crew, which as you know, I'm a big fan of. Darren, it's a niche game, but if you ever made a little tiny Lancaster with little folks to go in it, I think I'd be... You would have one buyer, that's for sure. And if you made a little big workshop, oh my God, I think I'd probably would think I was dead at that point, and in what the Romans would call Elysium. Other than that, want to try and get Life is Strange finished, and then I'm going to just play an absolute stack load more Wrestling Empire. To anyone listening, yeah, you need it. Doogie, you want it. Gaming Gram, if you ain't got it already, you need it. Just if you've got a penchant for a little bit of 80s, 90s wrestling, if you like the crazy storylines, if you want a wrestling game, you know where it is. Other than that, that's probably me about done. Darren, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on and entertaining.
Yeah, cheers, Darren.
Us. We know it's a little bit of a weird show and probably rambled on for far longer than you expected, but I just got to know about that carpet for the quarter scale. I just had to know. But thank you so much for coming on. Where can people, first of all, find you as an individual if you want to share your socials, or if not, feel free not to. And then obviously give Numskulls a full pump and where people can go for the best experience for that.
Yeah, so my socials, I'm on Twitter, refuse to call it by any other name, at KingMonkey25. And on Instagram as the same handle, KingMonkey25. The King Monkey, basically, it's a long story, but the short version is I was a big Stone Roses fan, and it came from that. Before
Perfect.
Ian Brown was a bit of a tinfoil hat warrior.
Some of these things come true.
Yeah, it's a shame the way he's gone, but it is what it is, isn't it, with the heroes? It's like Noel Gallagher, Morrissey. Some of them are just...
Yeah.
They go down a different road. It's that Anakin scene where it's like, you're going down a road I can't follow.
Yeah, see ya.
Yeah,
I want a 3D print of you dressed as Padme at the knee of Noel Gallagher saying that line with him.
Padme.
Absolutely brilliant. That's a niche diorama if ever
that is.
Okay, so what about finding the ultimate Numskulls experience? Where would they go for that?
So Numskull's got two different websites. Well, it's essentially one website. So you've got numskull.com. So everything's on there. So there's drop-down menus, so you can find peripherals, or you can go via brand. So if you're into Jurassic Park, Ghostbusters, etc., click on that.
Yeah,
it'll show you everything that we do in that particular IP. And if you go to, there's also a Quarter Arcades tab there, or you can just type quarterarcades.com and it'll take you straight to the page. And all of those have retailer links. So the thing is, we don't actually sell from the website. You have to go via retailers. So Amazon, Game, Just Geek, all these like retail outlets, Big Bad Toy Store if you're in the US. You can basically pick which preferred retailer you want to go with.
And let's level up a dad's experience. I know a lot of the time as dads that game, we feel like we need to maybe keep a hobby under wraps, or we don't like to ask for too much at Christmas because little Timmy needs his new thing, whatever that is. And therefore you take a big hit and get some socks and probably some Brute or Old Spice or whatever it is you didn't ask for. Maybe a Lynx kit these days. But if you were ever asked what you might want for Christmas, you definitely need one of these Quarter Arcades. Level up your
stunning.
Christmas.
Absolutely stunning.
Get on the Numskulls website, pick the one you want, follow those links and get yourself one off Amazon or one of the other providers and really treat yourself. You've worked hard all year and you damn near deserve it. And while you're there, you might as well add everything else to your basket. The Destiny socks, the PlayStation notepad, the gaming peripherals, you name it. And do you know what? You might as well grab a handful of it's basically like a smash and grab, isn't it? That I'm authorising these
digital
gamer dads, a digital smash and grab. Fill your basket full of the Tubbz ducks as well, because every single facet of everything you can imagine has got a duck for it. And as we've talked about in the episode, the detail is insane. If you want to showcase your fandom for a particular genre, be it niche or mainstream or whatever it is, Numskulls have got you covered in every single possible way you could imagine. If you want to be discreet, they've got a little bit. They've got a pin badge. If you want to be OTT like me, get the Kiryu statue. Go all in. Darren, is there anything else you want to impart to our listeners before you head off?
The only thing is the Space Invaders and Turtles cabs that you see on Quarter Arcades, they are coming in stock. So they're in stock at the moment. Space Invaders is in stock this month, so in the next 2 weeks, I would imagine. Turtles comes into stock in December. So if you do pre-order them, everyone's going to have them in time for Christmas.
Wow. Okay, so keep it cool. You're going to get your Turtles for Christmas under the tree from Father Christmas or Stingray, whichever. It'd be the genuine one, though. I don't know why I brought him into this. I'm sorry, Darren. and that, you know, what a wonderful way to sort of head into the festive period, knowing exactly what you want in your stocking and know exactly what you want from your main present from Mumsy, your wife, or your kids that you've got co-opted by not actually giving them a food until you get your high-priced piece of gaming merchandise. Darren, thank you again so much. It's been very insightful. It's been a joy to have you on. It seems like we've got many shared interests along the way, so it's been great to have you on. We'd love to have you back because I'd love to deep dive on some of the games you mentioned. You're collecting, the whole thing, that sort of side story about that trophy from the European 1993 Grand Prix in Donington will probably go down as one of the absolute bangers that we've heard on this show. And fingers crossed that Sega sees sense and put that into production. In the meantime, I'd like to book a ticket to your yet to be appointed trophy holding room. Maybe you could just put a little eyeglass so I could look through. I mean, that's as close to greatness as I'm ever going to get. And with that brings us to an end. Gentlemen, thank you for being on. That's all we have time for this week, listeners. As always, thank you for your time. I look forward to the pleasure of speaking to you again next week. Until then, happy gaming. And remember, there's nothing wrong with being given the unofficial controller. It's what you do with it that counts. See you guys.
See you later.